Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the grand finale of the NRL's third season. My name is Toon, and joining me are two amazing commentators that I couldn't be more proud of and that have been here since the very beginning. Let's give it up for Slow-Mo and T-Case. That's right, the original three are back here in the booth once again, and we are ready to give you all of the racing action. Starting with you, T-Case, how are you feeling about the season we've had so far?
Oh, Toon. First of all, fantastic to be back with you and Slow-Mo. It's been a long time, and I am glad to be in the booth with y'all. And this season has been the best so far. It just keeps getting better and better. And the finals that we have set up for today are just going to be amazing. Very challenging cars, very challenging tracks. I can't wait to see what happens.
Glad to hear. What about you, Slow-Mo?
As always, an honor to be here in the booth with you guys. We've seen an amazing season of some awesome car and track combinations for both A and B divisions. Today is no exception to that with St. Croix and Spa today. So we are going to see some awesome racing for today's finals, and I cannot wait.
I truly couldn't agree more with both of you. Now, before we get into the festivities, the commentary side of things will be different from the norm, which I think we can all agree is quite exciting. For the Division B race, it'll be the three of us, and following our race, it'll be our ever-gifted commentator and overall great guy, Flawed, here in the booth, alongside the ever-so-talented Rob G and our very own hometown kid, T-Case, covering the Division A racing action. Now, with all that said and done, I think it's time we carry on the tradition of having a word with the man who created this extraordinary league. You know him, you love him, the man with the A+ rated personality, McNaughty. McNaughty, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Can't believe we're already at the finals. So my first question for you is, you knew going from season 2 to season 3, it was going to be exponentially larger, because that seems to be the trend from when we started in season 1 to now. How much time went into just narrowing down possibilities for the Division B races and the Division A races across both days?
Oh man, I think I lost count, but I would say just the planning of the tracks and car combinations, I would say somewhere between, I don't know, 50 and 60 hours
Wow.
of testing and planning to get all of these set up. Just because it's between, it's 18 different races over the course of the season, right? Including today's 2 races. So each one you have to spend a significant amount of time making sure that there's viable candidates for strategy, intrigue, and action.
Right, right. And since you did have like separate races for the divisions on each day, how did you go about ensuring that the races would be at least balanced for the Fridays and the Saturday drivers from both divisions?
Well, I think on average the the thing that I thought about most is like, typical lap time. And once I knew what the lap time would be on a particular tire, then mathematically it's relatively simple to make the times line up. Of course, you know I'm just one racer, and these guys practice all week, and they knock it out of the park. So you find even when I have my calculations that they're able to smash them. But for in terms of total race time across all of the rounds, and I've been fortunate that it's within expectations.
All right. Well, yeah, you've definitely shaped up some exciting races for this season, and we've had a lot of memorable moments, which we'll touch on later in the broadcast. But TK?
Yeah. First off, just want to say thanks again, McNaughty. This is so much fun, and I'm so proud to be a part of this league, and have been able to be involved in all 3 seasons. So thank you so much. This is awesome. One of the things I've noticed is how much drivers improve, especially the drivers that started in season 1, where they were then compared to where they are now is just incredible improvement. And when you're planning these track combos, or when you had the idea for this league, was that an intention to maybe help drivers improve their skills, or is that just a result of what you created?
I think I can't take all the credit, right? Because the the whole thing about a driver improving is they have to want to improve, right? And that comes in hand with wanting to win, right? So I come up with a combo that is something that you may not typically see on a daily, or any type of event within the game other than single player. And that does lend a hand to becoming a better overall driver. But to each individual is more responsible for their own success and and their gains. So I think that I think I nudge the drivers in a particular direction, and then they run with
Yeah.
it. So much of the credit has to go to the drivers for wanting to be better, wanting to be great.
Right. Right. Yeah. You created a competitive and fun environment just that propelled them to want to do better. That's so cool. And it's a lot of fun
Thanks.
to watch, especially as I've gotten to get to know some of these drivers and just watch their progression. And it's a lot of it has to do with just getting involved in this league, and you pushing them to be better. So thank you.
No, thank you guys. Thank you.
All right. Slomo, do you have any questions for the man, the myth, the legend?
Yeah. And, just want to kind of touch on TK's point. I think we all, want to show some gratitude to you for all the work that you've put into, this league and how special it is. Really is an awesome league to be a part of, and even just in the broadcast booth. So my question for you, McNaughty, is, a lot of us got here because we enjoy watching you race specifically. Are there any car track combinations that we've seen this season that you really just wanted to participate in, as opposed to being here in the production rooms with us?
I'll say I definitely wanted to be a participant in the Nürburgring Saturday semifinal. That one, watching that one, I was at the edge of my seat, and I really wish I could have been a part of that one in particular. All of the races have been great. I can't say that I personally would do very well in in any particular one, but these guys pushed it to the limit, and I think all of them were exciting, but that one in particular, I was like, man, I wish I was here right now, battling there in the NERB in the dark.
Lemma?
Yeah, I mean that was an awesome race to watch. I think I can't speak for TKs, but I believe Toon and I would disagree. That's probably our least favorite track out of the ones we've seen. But for me, I think it was really some of the rally races. Those looked like a ton of fun. I really enjoyed the rally races, and man, talk about exciting. There has been no lack of excitement throughout the races. Did you expect these to be so? And exciting is the word that comes to mind, but the combos have brought these guys together, and really we've seen a variety of different strategies. Do you have any particular favorites in mind for this race that we're about to see for the B division guys?
Like a favorite to like win the race?
Yeah, drivers.
Well, I just looking at it analytically, because like I'm not actively rooting for anyone, but I think that based on Wicko's performance all season, you kind of have to say that he's the favorite. But nothing can be taken for granted, right? Season 2 final, the thought was that Hako was the favorite, but then Mullet ended up winning it. So it really just comes down to the execution. But I would have to say, just on paper, that going into this race, Wicko was probably the favorite.
That is hard to argue with. Yeah, I mean, he's got great times, and I've seen him do some practice laps, and he is fast. I guess the question now is, can he be that fast for an hour straight and keep that endurance up?
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be the tried and true question. But McNaughty, we will get out of your hair. Thank you so much for your time, and hope you're ready to see all this as much as we are.
Yeah, I definitely am, and thank you guys. I want to before I silence myself here, I just want to give a shout out to all the drivers, the stewards, you guys in the commentary box, the hosts, all the people who are tuning in chat, who've supported the league in any way, shape, and form, whether watching, donating, and all of that. And a big shout out to Big Joe behind the scenes, and a big shout out to Titanium, who's done Titanium Ashes has done a lot of work helping out behind the scenes, getting people together. And I just want to say that we're all thinking about you, and we appreciate you, and stay strong. But yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Here. Thank you.
All right, everybody. With that being said, I think it's time we go and take a look at what our Division B drivers will be up against for the grand finale of the NRL's third season. Got that ominous tone right there. Ooh, it's serious. Our drivers will be at Circuit de Saint Croix or Saint Croix. I don't speak French. In reverse for 1 hour in the Toyota GR10 Hybrid. They have the racing hards, mediums, and softs available with none required. This will be a grid start with false start check with 5 times tire and 2 times fuel rate. This is going to be a very, very intense race. I know myself, Leo, Slow-Mo, and I believe TK. Have you seen any practice for this?
Oh yeah, I've seen a little bit here and there, and it's going to be an interesting one. These especially those soft tires don't last very long out there, and these cars go fast, and they take these turns at high speeds, and that equals high tire degradation.
That it does, but Slow-Mo, I believe you could agree with both of us where this is not going to be a easy feat by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. I mean, TK's touched on it. This car is an absolute rocket ship. And this track is nothing to take lightly. It is very difficult. There's tons of twists and turns through here. And, you forget where you are on track for just a split second, and you can put yourself in a wall and end up with some severe engine damage really quickly. So we're going to have to see these guys really test their stamina through this hour-long race.
Could not agree more. With all that being said, let's go and take a look at how this grid was set. And Slow-Mo, that's all you, buddy.
Yeah, so, there's no qualifying for our race today. The drivers are going to be in their positions based on their league results from the previous points. So the top 5 drivers are going to claim a monetary prize there. And then, today's winner, obviously, is going to be our Season 3 Division B champion and get to take home that coveted Season 3 Naughty Racing League trophy.
It's going to be amazing. And now moving on over to the drivers who were fortunate enough to make this final race. We have Wicco, PHG Papa, PHG Dagger, Lewis, PHG Speedy Lee, Jay, Throwback Cat, Skeletor 698, Purple Nurple 88, Redneck C137, Turtle Shell, Shanzi, Angry Fredbird, and PHG Fenrir. Listed under their names, of course, is their team affiliation, should they have one, and also their YouTube and Twitch information, should it be applicable to the drivers. This is a stacked lobby. Like, say what you want about Division B, these guys know how to race. They know how to race really well. So this is this lobby is stacked. So I don't have a shadow of a doubt we're in for some insane racing. What do you think, Slow-Mo?
No, you're 100% right. While these guys are in our B division for Naughty Racing League, they are very skilled drivers. To go out and compete against these guys, they're fast. They're fast at all these tracks. They put in a lot of time practicing to be as good as they are. And like you guys touched on earlier in some of the interviews with McNaughty, they just keep getting better. So this is going to be a very exciting race. TKs, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to just keep going on with what you were saying there because, we started this season with a Division A and a Division B, and there may have been a difference in skill level a little bit. But now that we've gotten to the end of the season, they've all put in so much work that, it's top tier drivers all the way through in both divisions. So I think we're in for a treat on this final, and we're going to see how all that hard work is going to pay off.
I honestly couldn't agree more. While we wait for everything to get ready, just want to inform all of you that even going through the end of this broadcast and possibly a little after, depending on when it comes in, this league is 100% community funded. So any donations through Super Chat, Super Stickers, ! Donate in the chat, McNaughty Swiss bank account, anything and everything in between all goes directly into this league for our amazing drivers, our ever diligent stewards, and us up here in the commentary booth. But if you wish to support another way, just by dropping a like, spreading the word about this broadcast, subscribing to the McNaughty Gaming YouTube channel, and everything else definitely goes a long way. On behalf of the entire NRL, we thank you so much for your consideration and your continued support. Now, Slow-Mo, we know last week, Angry Fredbird, your brother, we'll just throw that out there for the audience. He was setting some casual laps, but I saw him practicing over the course of the past few days, and I think he's stepped the dedication up. Did you have a chat with him, or do you think he's just letting everybody get into a false sense of security so he can turn up for this race?
Maybe a little bit of both. There was definitely some chats that we've had. And, it's funny, while he may be running casual laps, his casual laps can still sometimes be faster than, some of your average drivers. So he's got quite a bit of talent behind the wheel there. And we're going to see him showcase that off. Granted, he's starting at the back of the field today. I think he's got his tire strategy locked in and knows what he's going to do for the race. So We just got to watch and see if he's able to execute and if that works out to his advantage today.
Rightfully so. And should also quickly take a moment. I'm getting word from production that we have 2 super chats. $50 MX from Corridor 71. Thanks for the league, McNaughty. It's been an awesome experience. And then we also have a $9.99, we'll call it $10 for the sake of argument, from C Turbo 26. A little tip for the broadcasters.
Hey,
Gentlemen,
Turbo.
thank you all
Hey,
so
thank you
much.
guys.
And yeah,
Awesome.
TK Turbo's one of your regulars, isn't he?
Oh yeah, Turbo and I, we go way, way back. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you indeed. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You two were at the 24 Hours of Daytona, weren't you?
Oh yes, we sure were, and we camped out for 4 days there, right outside of the NASCAR Turn 1, and spent a lot of hours, well over 24 hours, in the grandstands and around the infield, watching MX5s, watching GT3s, GT4s, Le Mans prototype cars, GTP, which are very similar to the Toyota they're driving today. Just the IMSA version versus the WEC version. So we got to see some of these, we'll call them hypercars, high performance, high downforce hybrid cars go around, and they're incredible. The top speeds they have, especially with that battery power to go on with the with how much horsepower they have. So they're a treat to see in real life, and it's going to be fun to watch them go around here in Gran Turismo. As we know, this game does a great job of giving not only great visuals, but a great feel and sound to these cars. So that's going to be a lot of fun to kind of compare the two. And I did see some liveries when I was watching practice of some cars that I did see at the Rolex 24 Hour, like the 01 Cadillac liveries on one of them, and a few others like that. So that's going to be pretty cool to see.
That is actually, yeah, that does sound really cool. I always forget that the GR1 cars are the LMP cars in real life, so it's going to be quite interesting. Now, I do want to circle back to a question that a certain broadcaster by the name of Slow-Mo asked our esteemed founder and proprietor of this league. And I guess I should pose the question to you guys as well. Do either of you have an odds-on favorite, just either looking at the numbers or through just, not so professional biasness for this race?
Slow-Mo, I'm going to let you take that one first.
You want me to go first? No problem here. So, I've watched these guys run some practice on a couple different occasions. We all know that Wicco is going to put out his best product today. I'll tell you, my dark horse for today's race is going to be Redneck. He's got pace to keep up with Wicco. Lewis is probably a close second for the dark horse there, although he is starting a little bit higher up in the pack. I think we're going to see a lot of action here. You're going to see a lot of position changes. It's anybody's race, once the lights go out. TKs, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know that I can pick a favorite other, than the obvious previous race winners and the top 3 in the starting order. But it's going to be so hard to predict. In this race, also, it's an hour long versus a certain number of laps, right? So strategy is going to come into play. If the pace is slower, they're going to be doing fewer laps. If the pace is quicker, they're going to be doing more laps. That's going to affect, what tires they use. We're going to see if anybody stays away from a certain tire. It just doesn't perform well. I'll stick with one tire. It's going to be all over the place. And with these cars, you can't follow too closely. They require a lot of downforce, so that's going to affect the race pace as well. So we'll see if it's easy for people to overtake. It might be just kind of a train until we get pit stops, and then we'll see some position changes. So I really have no way of predicting other than getting this race started and seeing what happens.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Honestly, Slow-Mo made some really good points with those dark horses. I was watching Redneck practice over the past couple nights, and he's been setting some flying laps. Best I've seen him do was a 301.3, I believe. But this is an endurance race, so you're not out here to set fastest laps. You're here to have consistency and have a viable strategy. So if I had to guess, I'd have to say, well, I know a lot of the chat's going to agree with me. The odds-on favorite, at least in terms of the chat, is Papa. You know, the PhD Army tripled in size just over this season. And then you take into consideration he's been able to pull off some miraculous feats. I take you back to Willow Springs where he pretty much won on a no-stopper. And that one was unorthodox, to say the least. But then you also have to keep people such as Redneck and Wicco and Dagger and Jay all in that conversation as well, along with Jimmy Beans and Purple Nurple. But it's really anybody's race to win. It's anybody's race to lose, and I can't wait to see what's in store for us.
Yeah, Toon, to add to that, I think one thing I'm really curious to see play out is the various strategies that these guys are going to use. Soft tires are almost always going to be preferred, in my opinion. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some folks run the mediums. What would surprise me is seeing somebody go on a stint of the hards. This car is so fast, and with so many turns on this track, that might not be the best strategy, but it will definitely get the most laps out of your tires and your fuel. So anything is a game, and we've seen these guys run so many different strategies that it's really hard to predict what to expect.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Also, I would like to make special note that our very own commentator, Rob G. Barker, has made a generous donation of £10. Fantastic season. GG's to everybody. Thank you, Rob. It is an honor and a privilege to have you here in the league alongside us.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you.
Oh, and we've got a donation for $4.99 from CBD Driver, our one of HRA's finest, and all around just a great guy. He's absolutely just terrific to be around.
He is.
Commentators, please don't curse my favorite drivers. I sold my sim for this $5. Oh.
What kind of sim do you got?
Apparently a $5 sim. Probably went to Five Below, found it over in the over on the wall by the shirts.
Oh yeah.
Well, you heard the man. We can't curse any drivers, so I don't know how we're supposed to do that. But you know what? We will try our best.
Yeah, no announcers curse today, right?
Yeah, no announcers curse, especially on a race with this level of intensity and where the stakes are this high. Yeah, I wouldn't want to blame anything on an announcer's curse either. But to circle back to your point, Slow-Mo, you said something about doing a stint on the hards. That actually, I saw somebody doing that in practice. Their name eludes me. To whoever was running the hards, my apologies, I'm forgetting your name right now, but well done. That was a very, very clever strategy. So yeah, staying out of the pits as long as possible will definitely be to some people's advantage. And anyway, let's stop with the rambling, and I think it's time we finally get the finals underway. This is going to be quite interesting to see. Grid start, everybody's lined up. This is winner takes all, everybody. Point standings do not matter in this race. The win is the win, doesn't matter who does it. I think all these drivers know it full and well. Got the lights coming on. Everybody's got their foot hard on the brake as to not jump the line. Will we see anybody do it? Nope. And they are away for lap 1 of a 1-hour endurance race. This is going to be very, very tricky for everyone involved. Got just a gaggle of cars. And it looks like Wicco had a less than stellar start. Go ahead, TK.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, Papa took the lead right off the bat. I don't know what happened to Wicco, but he fell backwards and Papa took full advantage, and now he's leading that train.
Yeah, that's That's less than ideal, but it is an hour-long race, and anything can and anything will happen here. Lewis is flying up beside him, trying to find an opening. Oh, and Papa's up for grabs. Papa's spun out into the wall. Oh, good Lord.
That's what I was talking about with them following each other. They're in the dirty air. You don't have as much grip, and it looked like he kind of just went just a little bit into the back of Papa and got Papa spun around.
Let's take a look at the replay here. Looking at Wicko's start, less than stellar. Oh my goodness, it is carnage left, right, and center.
Yeah, and Toon, if you notice, Wicko started on hard. So, you know, just as I was saying that not too long ago, here we go. We've got Wicko who's starting out. So maybe his strategy is to stay out there as long as he can and outlast the other folks.
Maybe, but it looks like we got PhD Dagger up in first, Lewis in second, followed by Throwback, Purple Nurple, Wicko, Jay, Fenrir. Fenrir had a huge jump. He started at the back of the grid, and now he's up to P7. That's fantastic. Wicko, oh! Wicko got a little squirrely and knocked into Fenrir. That is unfortunate, but looks like there was no real harm done. Oh, never mind. Slight damage, but Wicko is given the position back. Wonderful showcase of sportsmanship and racing etiquette from Wicko. The driving standards you see in this league are just top-notch. You'll love to see this kind of action, folks. Or at least you love to see these kind of actions being taken to give a position back. Fenrir slightly outbraking himself. We're taking a wider line. Looks like either way it worked to his advantage. He's got just under a quarter of a second gap to Purple Nurple, just under half a second ahead of Wicko, and as you see on that timer right there, 57.25 minutes left, or 3/4 minutes left. This is gonna be absolutely insane, especially when the pits start flying in. Now,
yeah, there's a big change up at the front with Lewis getting up front and Dagger falling all the way back to fourth.
Really now? Yeah, that is a huge shakeup. So, Slow-Mo, since you are our man on the field, after this replay, I do have a question for you. Oh, I'm getting word that we had a slight mishap with the replay. That's okay. PD, fix your game. But Slow-Mo, we saw Wicko's on the hards. Did anybody else opt for a harder compound?
You know, there's a few drivers that are on the mediums, but the majority of the guys I'm seeing are running softs today, at least for the beginning of the race here. Whether or not they go into the pits and take that medium, we're going to have to wait and find out.
Thank you, Slow-Mo. Now, TK's, the LMP cars in real life, would you say they're quite similar to, like, in terms of, like, how they maneuver around the circuit as they are to the Group 1 cars? Because these cars look like they are very, very temperamental, and whenever I see a race on TV, well, it looks like they're just planted to the ground.
You know, it looks like that on TV, but in person, especially the back ends get really wiggly, and it's funny. It's not the smoothest car under braking as well. They have to be very careful on the brakes and the downshifts, and they can be quite jerky going into corners. They really do best in a nice straight line and high speed turns versus the heavy braking. Because these cars use a lot of downforce and have a lot of power. So the faster they're going, the more they're gripped to the track. So as they slow down, they start to lose that downforce, and that's when the cars get to be quite a bit twitchy.
Understandable. Yeah, I'd assume a corner like the one coming up here, getting onto the bridge, could make the cars quite twitchy, because that is a very low-speed corner. It looks like Jay, who did get swooped up by PHG, is trying to stay hot on Throwback Cat's tails and setting up purple, but this is the second lap, folks, so that's going to be changing left, right, and center. And Slow-Mo, we got a beautiful overtake by Jay from Throwback Cat. Magnificently done. Jay has been practicing like absolute mad, and it's showing here. Whenever I saw people doing their practice, I noticed most people were getting about 6 to 7 laps out of their softs. So do you think we might see a pit from some of the drivers on the soft compound around that time, Slow-Mo?
I do. I think that's right about what they're going to get. If somebody can stretch those softs for any laps further than that, kudos to them. I certainly could not make that happen when I did some practice laps. The other thing I'll add is, as your tires start to wear, this car can get very, very slippery. PK's, this one's a hybrid, right? So the front wheels, if I'm not mistaken, are powered by the hybrid system, where the rear wheels are powered by the standard engine, right?
Right, yeah. So it's essentially an all-wheel drive car, but they're getting their power differently. And if you look, there's a green bar kind of down to the left, and two arrows, a green arrow that points up and a red arrow that points down. When the green arrow is pointed up, that car is recharging that electric battery using the energy from the brakes and other parts of the drivetrain to recharge that battery to deploy it on the long straight. So when they're going on these straights, it's going to be using all that battery energy, and then under braking and in the corners, they'll charge that back
What
up.
a move!
Ooh,
Wow.
Redneck spreads it up the inside. Carry on, TK.
No, that was it.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of making sure you always have battery to deploy, because it is a huge amount of power for these cars.
Okay, I never understood how to properly recharge the battery, which is partly why whenever I do a Group 1 menu book race, I just go for something that was on the older end of things without the hybrid system. Now we take a look at the Robot Cat, who is a staggering 9.25 seconds away from Lewis, but has just over half a second gap to himself and Purple Nurple. So I think we're going to be seeing a battle for P2 for a little bit, because Lewis is just gone at this rate. Now, I mentioned pit stops earlier. I should also mention that over the preceding days of practice, there were some drivers, mainly Wicco, who were getting their practice in with running on 4 completely dead racing soft tires. I don't know how viable that's going to be, but I would not be shocked if we see some people run dead tires to stay out of the pits a little longer. So we see Fenrir trying to find an opening for P5. Go ahead.
For sure, Toon, and that's actually a strategy I've picked up on, is to get practice in on dead tires. You can drive any of these cars on dead tires. With this game, the tires don't burst. In real life, you wear down the tires, they burst, you're out of the race. That doesn't happen in this game. So you can run any car on dead tires as Redneck tries to go up the inside and pushes him off the track. See if he gives that. Yep, he stays behind and doesn't take the position. That's good sportsmanship right there. But you can run these cars on dead tires. And so getting that practice in, maybe you do need to do one more stint on fuel. And so it's not going to be the fastest way around the track, but if you can comfortably get around the track without losing control, it might give you an advantage to get one extra lap in before you have to refuel.
You do make some very solid points, and I don't know, it's too early for me to make any expectations for pit strategies and things of that nature, because whenever I make an expectation for pit strategy, it seems it just gets flipped right on its head. What about you, Slamo?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I had some expectations, but I don't know that any of that's going to play through. One thing I found interesting when I was watching some of these folks practice is, I saw a lot of them go in, and we talked earlier about how the fuel might not fill so quickly. Some of these guys don't plan on taking a full tank when they go into fuel. So, I think there's a fine line there to find how much fuel is going to you're going to use with the set of tires that you're putting on the vehicle, and I think that's the balance that these guys want to come to through their pit stops.
I'm really shocked at how close of these guys are able to stay together. These cars don't do well close to each other, and we're just seeing them packed together, going too wide, pushing each other, swapping positions, and it's been 10 minutes and only 4 laps, so there's going to be a lot more jockeying for position out there, and it hasn't been the cleanest so far, but it seems like everyone's been doing the right thing, and when there's contact, they back off and allow the other to keep going. So I love seeing that.
As do I. It is definitely refreshing to see that. Sure, these drivers are giving everything they have, but they are able to, in a sense, keep their wits about them in terms of rectifying any incidents they have. Oh my lord, Speedy Lee just flew right past Purple Nurple like he was standing still. That was really interesting to see. I wonder what caused him to get that much of a runoff. As we see a nice little pack of 3 drivers with Throwback Cat, Speedy Lee, and Purple Nurple all coming onto the bridge. This is going to get very dicey for the drivers. I'm sorry, TKS, you were saying?
Yeah, well, when you see the difference in speed, that's the battery deployment, and the game does it, but there's ways to make sure you get that deployment at a certain time based on like how straight you're going when you apply the throttle. So if you get more battery deployment than the person in front of you plus a little slipstream, you're going to go flying past them. So we're going to see a lot of that back and forth, and it's just dependent on when these cars are deploying that extra power.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still learning little bits and bobs about this game, and it's quite interesting to see. Ooh, speaking of interesting to see, looks like Speedy Lee's trying to give us a spectacle and finding a opening to overtake Throwback Cat, but it's not just Speedy Lee there. Looks like we also have Purple Nurple and Jay in tow as well. So we've got about a 4-way battle for...
Oh, and there's contact.
Can we get a replay of that?
Yeah, while all this is going on, Lewis is just running away.
He is.
That he is. All right. We take a look on board with Speedy Lee, who is trying to find the opening to Throwback Cat. Let's see what happened here. Throwback Cat just lost a little bit of grip, and due to no ghosting, got clipped. That contact, I'd say, folks, was just a racing incident. Speedy Lee had no time to react.
Yeah, Speedy Lee looked like he was able to avoid it altogether and just them losing control on their own. That's something that can happen. You get on the throttle too early in some of these corners and it gets unsettled.
Okay, it must be netcode or my eyes failing me. But either way, as we see, Speedy Lee is now down in P4. Jay taking a lot of the grass to make that. Let's hope that doesn't get him a half-second penalty for his efforts. And it does.
There it is.
Got to be mindful there, folks. You are having an intense race, but you got to keep your wits about you sometimes. But regardless, this is gonna be interesting to see nonetheless. And if I remember correctly, Slow-Mo, the penalty line here is quite interesting.
It is, yeah. I served my fair share of penalties when I did my practice laps, and I mean, it's in a place you simply don't want to slow down, right? You've got everybody around you that's going to be pushing really hard. You're going to lose spots getting a penalty, almost guaranteed.
Yeah, so let's see if Jay will be able to increase the gap to where it doesn't harm him too much in the grand scheme of it. But we are not even a quarter of the way through, and we're still having an intense battle over here for, well, P2 and the podium as a whole. So this is going to be shaking up quite a bit. We're on lap 5, have yet to see anybody go into the pits. This is going to be vastly different once the pit stops start rolling in. Keeping a nice line, trying to get onto the bridge. Nobody running wide and getting engine damage from that Armco over there. And now they are just sending it across this bridge. It's actually quite a nice looking bridge, if I'm honest. It looks like Speedy Lee's trying to find a spot to overtake, but Jay is keeping that door shut. Excellent defensive driving so far. I see Wicko is also in the fold, not too far behind, really.
Yeah, Wicko's made his way back up to the top 5. Still on the hards, obviously. And, you know, just kind of looking through some of the field and their tire wear, I took a peek at Lewis, who is almost 20 seconds ahead now. He actually just slid off track, but his soft tires are getting pretty worn at this point. So don't be surprised to see these folks start coming in here on lap 6 or 7 like we talked about.
And that could be a big play for Wicko, even with the rough start on the hard tires. We know he's got pace around here, and he's put in a lot of practice. So once everybody in front of him on the softs go in, he's going to have just clean, open track to run his pace, and he can push those hards however hard he wants to push them and potentially build up a nice big gap. Good
to know. Yeah, this is going to be honestly, this is just a giant guessing game in the grand scheme of it. But we take a look at PHG Skeletor 698, who just won off. I should not have said his name. My lord, I am terribly sorry, Skeletor. Okay, we're gonna go. Yeah, we're gonna just gloss over that. I'm not gonna say any. Slow-mo, you want to say some names and make me not the bad guy?
I'm happy to. Yeah, I've been riding along with Lewis here for a little bit, and you know, his gap is down to about 11 seconds now. So he's had his lap 5. He had a couple slip ups there, ended up in the grass a couple times. Very quick recovery, but that gap has dwindled down significantly.
Jay and Redneck both have hopped into the pits on those softs, so they're getting a fresh pair of tires.
I wonder what their tire strategy will be. I mean, it would be viable for them to do softs only to a certain extent, because that pit time is going to get you, especially with the 3 liters a second refueling speed. That's a snail's pace by comparison. And as we are looking on board with Lewis, half of his car in terms of tires is just dead. The other half looks like it might be done around the end of this lap. So Lewis is going to have to play very carefully, because that tire wear is affording slip-ups, which will cause the rest of the grid to catch up to him. And looking at the grid back here with Wicco in P4, they're all moving like men possessed. They are definitely on a mission, and they will not hesitate to capitalize on any sort of mistake. And speaking of mistakes, Wicco almost made a mistake there, but caught the car as it was getting a little squirrely, holding it nicely and getting onto the bridge, avoiding any contact with the barrier. Got a little squirrely again, but the assists are doing their jobs. I'm also noticing that a lot of the drivers are running the counter steering and active stability management assists for their cars. Why do you think that might be, T-Case?
Just because these things are a handful. We've seen already at least 2 drivers spin without anybody touching them. You know, just on their own, getting on the throttle too early, or trying to overcorrect a slight slide. Some of these cars need to slide a little bit, and it can be scary, and you go to correct that, and then now you're going the wrong way. So with some of these assists on, it can help you just keep the car a little more planted if you're not as comfortable in these high downforce cars.
Okay, that does make a lot of sense, and it's honestly very clever and intuitive thinking by these drivers. And I took a quick glance over to the chat over here on the McNaughty Gaming YouTube channel, and let's just say I am not very well liked right now because of the Throwback Cat incident. Throwback, I'm sorry, it wasn't me, I promise it wasn't me. But moving on, we've got Skeletor holding quite nicely, able to kind of bounce back, fend off Turtle Shell, and yeah, this is
You said Turtle Shell again, and he ran into the wall, unfortunately.
And Lewis is in the pit.
And Turtle Shell has disconnected. That is heartbreaking to see. Now moving on over to Angry Fredbird. Slow-mo, it's amazing, actually. When you were talking about dark horses, with Angry Fredbird being your brother, his name didn't come out of your mouth once.
Well, I don't want to play favorites. I know his strategy. I know he's up against some really skilled guys here. Let that be the surprise if he can come through and pull something special off here.
Yeah, we're seeing that lap 5, lap 6 pit strategy coming into play. Lewis, Speedy Lee, and Angry Fredbird all hopped in the pits there at lap 6. So we're seeing those soft runners diving in for some fresh rubber. I think Lewis came out on the mediums. And I've also noticed a good difference in the times as far as softs, mediums, and hards here, with Lewis's fastest lap being that 3:03.9. And then on the racing hards, Wicco's fastest lap here is a 3:07. So that's a pretty big gap on the hard. So yeah, it's really going to depend on how many more laps he can do versus the others, since we're in an endurance race versus a number of lap race.
Right, and that is going to be that should be the question on everybody's mind, honestly. Now, I do see I do see Wicco here is almost halfway through the race on a set of hard tires and not even half a tank of fuel. I have no idea what on earth he's doing, but whatever it is working and is working magnificently. I know we were saying there's no shot of a no-stopper, but this might be another case where we could be dead wrong, especially seeing as how Wicco's able to maintain consistency. His laps over on the side showing 308, 308, 307, 309, 308. Like, he's in the same ballpark, so he has the consistency. But what would have to change for Wicco to be able to not only attempt to run a complete no-stopper, but also make sure he doesn't lose ground because of it, slow-mo?
Well, he's got to be consistent. This is not the longest pit that we've seen. The cars aren't in there terribly long if you're just getting tires and a splash and dash. If you sit there and fill that tank up, you're going to be there for a minute. So, kind of going back to the point I made earlier where these guys might not be filling up their full tank. We always say it, oh, well, is anybody going to run a no-stop? Maybe we see it. It could very well be the best strategy for this race. It looks like Wicco has got himself back up into P2 after the start that he had. And, it is anybody's race still. We're not even halfway through yet. So there's going to be a lot more change in position before we end this race.
Without a doubt. And it looks like Lewis is going to
up the inside.
Lord. Looks like Lewis was able to find an opening and send it right up the inside for P2. And he's on what? The racing hards or mediums?
He's on the mediums. He's on the mediums, and he's got about the same amount of fuel as Wicco. So if Wicco's doing the no-stop, if they can both make this fuel last, softs to the mediums seem to be the better play for Lewis if he can make these mediums last the rest of the race.
Yep. Yeah, that is a good point. Only time will tell. We're just over just under halfway through the race. Lewis has about half a tank of fuel. Slow-mo, I just like going through the grid. What's the fuel looking like for our drivers in this race?
I'm not only looking at the fuel, but I'm also looking at the battery that's left. Lewis is actually quite low, so maybe we'll see him using the brakes a little bit more to get that charge going on the battery. I don't see anybody that's technically low on fuel past a half tank. Most of the drivers are half tank, 3/4 tank, somewhere in that neighborhood.
And we might see the fuel get used up more as the battery gets lower, because the batteries can get depleted, and if they're not doing the recharge, that's going to put more strain on the motor to be powering it. So we might see a difference in fuel consumption as these batteries get lower and lower if they're not getting recharged.
All right, as we see Redneck setting another purple sector, already has the fastest lap at the moment, the 3:03.672. Redneck's about to get into a groove, it seems, and looks like they are gaining on Jay as we jump on over to Papa, who had admittedly a less than stellar start, but is holding it nicely with Dagger, giving plenty of room. Wonderful sportsmanship. Looks like Papa's tires, though, are getting ready to call it a day, so he may have to consider going in and getting at least a fresh set of rubber on. But only time will tell. Him and Dagger almost too wide through this corner. This is fantastic racing. This is definitely a showcase of why these are... Ooh, we have slow mover on track. Looks like Skeletor may have had an incident which causes... Oh, wow, he has serious damage. Let's see what happened there. All right, here we have Skeletor coming off the bridge, holding a tight line, kissing that apex, really. And then what happens? Just loses the grip. I think the wheels may have spun up too much or something, because that was like an act of God. And for those of you watching in chat, I didn't even say his name, so don't put that on me.
That's where those assists come into play. Some of those drivers who are using some of those assists, that may not have happened right there. The assist would have come in and kind of corrected that before it got too far out of hand. Now, driving without assists, if you can do it, is definitely the quicker way. And he's around again.
Oh, no.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Maybe Skeletor needs to turn on some of those assists and get back to the pits for some fresh rubber or something.
Well, in T-Case, to that point, I feel like as soon as you get a little bit of damage or something goes wrong in this car, it goes from bad to worse very quickly, as we saw, with Turtle Shell.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. And it looks like Skeletor was stopping for a moment, make sure all the other cars were able to get around safely. Wonderful sportsmanship, even in the face of
Look at Lewis.
Of an incident.
He's battling for first.
Yeah, as we jump over to Lewis, Lewis is he's about to fight for P1. Slow-mo, what tires are Purple Nurple running right now?
Purple's actually on the mediums, and they're pretty worn. He might have another lap or two left on those. We just saw Papa go into the pits. Lewis does not have the tire advantage. He has mediums as well, but his are more fresh, so I guess technically that would be a tire advantage. As he peeks to the inside, makes a nice move, getting right by Purple there, shuts the door, and looks like he is going to take P1 for a little bit here.
That was a clean overtake if I've seen one, coming into a homage to Spoon that we could just call Tablespoon. They are keeping it nice and single file, making sure not to run wide on that apex and hit that barrier. Everything's looking good. Yeah, this is fantastic driving for our Division B drivers. As we see, too wide. Ooh, Jay sends it up the outside. Will it work out in his favor? And it looks like it does. He's able to take P4 from Redneck C137 for the time being. Looks like Redneck's tires are running a little low, as is the battery, but he's still sitting quite healthily in the fuel department, getting right up on each other. Now, fun fact, Jay and Redneck are running the exact same livery, and that's just because Jay saw Redneck's livery in the showcase, thought it was nice, and was like, all right, I'll run that. And then after he put it on, he took a look at who created it, and was like, oh, no way. So it's funny how these things can happen, but it also goes to show, thank goodness we have names on over the drivers, otherwise we wouldn't know which one's which at this rate. And Jay is starting to pull away from Redneck, but I don't think Redneck's going to be out for much long because, he's going to start closing that gap quite swiftly and going from almost a second to just about half a second, 3/4 of a second. Redneck is having he's got a mission right now as we jump on board with Wicco, who is probably seeing this action going on in his rearview mirror. Now, from a driver's perspective, we'll start with you, TKs. If you're a car ahead of a heated battle going on behind you, or like at the start of the race, you're at the start of a race, you're front of the pack, and you have a bunch of hungry sharks behind you, what's that do for you on a psychological level?
Yeah, I mean, it puts all the pressure on you, and it depends on how you drive. If you use the view with the rear view mirror, it can be very distracting, and that's how you make mistakes, is you start driving in your mirrors versus paying attention to what's in front of you. So a really good driver is going to keep their head down. They're going to keep looking ahead and try not to get distracted with what's behind them. But it's really hard not to do when, as you see in this view, you have the mirror right above you, and you can see what's happening behind you, and it can get really distracting, especially on a track like this where, like Slow-Mo had said, you forget where you are for a second and you're in the wall. So you got to focus on what's ahead while being mindful about what's behind you.
Okay, that does seem like a huge balancing act. And speaking of balancing acts, looks like they're balancing on the throttle right now as we jump on board with Jay, who is swiftly closing in on Wicco. Jay having about half-life on his racing soft tires, keeping them quite even in the wear department, which is very good to see. And Wicco, of course, is still on the racing hard tires that he started with. We are just approaching the halfway mark for this race, so it's going to be interesting to see what the coming half of the race has in store. Going too wide, and Jay's able to send it up the inside due to the tire advantage, and Wicco affording him plenty of room to boot. As we see Redneck coming out a little wide, less than stellar, run out of the corner onto the bridge, and is not able to overtake Wicco at this current juncture, but there's still tons of twists and turns, ups and downs ahead of these drivers. So I always say it, anything can happen. And looks like we've got Redneck coming in right on Wicco's tail. That's a dangerous game, especially with how susceptible to dirty air these cars are. So I hope Redneck knows what he's doing. Otherwise, it could spell disaster. I'm getting word from production that we received a $20 super chat from J-Dog. J-Dog, thank you so very much for your support. It's truly an honor to have everybody in the chat all around the world just showing their continued love and support for this league. It truly means the world to all of us. And speaking of all of those watching around the world, if you're just tuning in, hello, pleasure to have your company. Toon, Slow-Mo T-Case, Division B NRL Season 3 Finals. We jump on board with Purple Nurple, who is just over a second behind PSG Dagger at the moment. But Purple Nurple does have a fresh set of racing mediums, so it's only a matter of time before we see some more changes in the standings for this race. As we approach just over 28 minutes left. And Slow-Mo, what do you think?
You know, I'm just really impressed. I talked before the race about hard tires, and here we are. We're watching Wicco in P3.
Oh, I just heard tire squeal.
And he's on hards. Yeah, I heard that as well. It looks like there's something that we saw just back frame.
Oh, Wicco's going in the pits.
Yeah, it looks like Jay Wicco and Redneck have all gone into the pits there.
Moving on over to Throwback Cat. Little squirrely, but that's just netcode, and it looked like
there it is.
Oh, there's contact.
Bumped into
Fenrir.
Hate to see it. Hate to see
you
it.
hate to see it, but it looks like Papa did give the position back to Fenrir. So all is well that ends well between the PHG teammates. So we move on up to PHG Dagger, who is in a three-way heat for P4 right now between himself, Wicco, and Redneck C137. Now, I do want to make one special note of part of the magic of this league. So, during the Road Atlanta race, I had the pleasure of speaking to Dagger and Wicco while they were practicing, and you know, when you're practicing, sometimes you just have chit chat while you're trying to kill time, get everything sorted out. We found out that Wicco and Dagger both have the same occupation, same employers with different offices, so kind of shows you how small the world really can be, and you never know what surprises have in store for you when you go and get to know your fellow competitors. So that's one thing I want to stress to these competitors for this league. Take the time, get to know your fellow competitors, make friends. It helps brighten the mood of the race, and you might realize that the world's smaller than you think, and you might already know each other and just didn't realize it. But anyway, moving over with Dagger, he is currently just under half a second behind Wicco. Has about a 2.25 second gap between himself and Purple Nurple, and that is closing rapidly. So it looks like Dagger might only have to worry about Wicco for the time being, who, Slow-Mo, when Wicco went into the pits, did he change tires or did he just get fuel?
He did. He put on a set of mediums and took just a splash of fuel as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think Wicco could have gone to the end on those hards, but realized that the time lost in the pits isn't that much, and the racing hard tires are not the raciest tire. He was a sitting duck out there on those hards, so I think he thought better of it, put some quicker tires on, get to the end of the race on these mediums.
That's good. I'm getting word from production that our own commentator, Leo2443, has made a generous donation of $10, and it says PHG for the no. Well, I'm not finishing that. Thank you so much for your support, Leo. Glad to see you showing your love for some of the drivers and your racing team as a whole. And all in all, Leo, it's been a pleasure having you in the booth this season. And I just love having you around, man. It's been great. As we jump over to Throwback Cat, who is 1.25 seconds behind Papa. Papa is definitely fighting his way up the grid. So, Slow-Mo, since, again, I'm sorry to keep coming back to you. You do have access to the tires and everything. Who's sitting the best in terms of tire life at the moment? Because We see Papa and Throwback Cat just blowing right by the pits. Throwback's tires looking quite healthy, but his battery's also depleted. So I think we won't be seeing that be a factor for him anymore throughout this race.
Yeah, to your point, if you look up to the front of the pack, Lewis, Speedy Lee, 1 and 2, both of those guys were about halfway through their tires. I would anticipate that, you've got Lewis on the mediums, Speedy Lee on the soft. I'd anticipate those guys are going to need one more stop before the race is over, maybe 2 for Speedy if he's pushing those softs hard or trying to get a fresh set. Going through the rest of the field, their tires look pretty good. Lots of mediums through there till you get to Papa, who's running softs about halfway through on the wear there. The one thing I will notice flipping through is a lot of the hybrid batteries gauge is very, very low for some of these guys. So one thing I experienced with this car is once that hybrid stops, once you lose your charge there and you go to the rear-wheel drive version specifically, it becomes even more slippery. So I wanted to charge that battery up as much and as often as possible, and I know these guys do too.
I agree, Slow-Mo. Now, with the hybrid system being the way it is, and as TK's explained, when you're out of that hybrid system, that puts more strain on your gas tank. Now, unfortunately, due to how... Oh, Wicko runs a little wide and gets grass, but just narrowly avoids damage. That is impressive. That was... Yeah, I don't... Some of these moves I've seen these drivers do, I don't even know if they could replicate it twice if they tried. I know I wouldn't be able to do it, and Wicko's starting to gain a little bit on Redneck, and moving back to Redneck, he has the fastest lap right now at a 3:03, but he's not.
Redneck ran a little wide there.
But one thing's striking me as different from the practice races we saw, or at least Leo and I saw last night. Redneck was setting about 3:01 lap times, and then you come over here, he's setting 3:03s. I don't know if he's just trying to pace himself or what the case might be. And then you take a look at Lewis, he's flying by everybody right now.
So Wicko just made a pass on Redneck. Yep, that was great.
Wicko just had a great run on Redneck. That was...
Does Wicko have any battery left? I wonder. He just looked like he had so much more power. Okay. He's got 0. Okay, so it was just slipstream and getting a better exit then.
Does anybody have any substantial amount of battery left, Slow-Mo?
Flipping through, most everybody is pretty low until you get down to Horn. Horn's got let's call it a third of the battery left, but pretty much everybody else is looking very low with maybe just a couple little bars of green on that.
Okay, so it seems everybody's, for the most part, running strictly off fuel now. So that's going to change the dynamic of the race if I had to guess. Would you agree, T. Harris?
Yeah, for sure. It's going to change the way they drive. It's going to change the amount of power they have. They're going to have to really rely on good entry speed, good exits, and then using the slipstream, because we can see how strong it is on these straights when they tuck in right behind, boom. All of a sudden, they're right on the rear and able to make a pass on the straight. So yeah, see, we watch. He's getting closer and closer and closer, but now we get into the braking zone. Have to wait for the next straight line opportunity.
Now, and one thing while we've been talking, Lewis has been quietly pulling away from the pack. He's got himself almost to a 30-second lead. It's mind-boggling to see him pull away from some of these guys this way. He's running on the mediums, like I said before. I think he's going to need another stop, so that will probably change a little bit. But man, that's an enormous gap.
That is an enormous gap. What are Lewis's lap times looking like? Are they consistent? Are they running around 3:04? Look, here we go. So let's see here. His last lap was a 3:07, followed by a 3:06, 3:04. Okay, so consistent 3:04s, 3:14, 3:16, 3:13. It's amazing how he pulled such a huge lead over the rest of the field. I don't know what he's doing, but whatever it is, it's working. traction control and the rest of the assists doing their job to help avoid certain disaster into that wall, because I have seen drivers in practice run headfirst into that and pretty much knock them out of the race.
Yeah.
And speaking of the race, it seems there's no give in this race for P3 between Redneck and Wicco. They are trying to make moves. I think they're thinking one step ahead of the other each time it goes around. Wicco's getting ready to have a move, and then Redneck has an answer, and Lewis goes into the pits. Yep. Okay, so we're about to see a huge shakeup. Slow-mo, when you did the pits, how long was the average time for you?
It all depended on how much fuel you took. I would say that they're probably 15 to 20 seconds, depending upon that fuel you're taking. It looks like Lewis is taking fuel a little bit more than a splash and dash. I think he filled up to about a half a tank and then jumped out. So,
and he changed over
23, 24 seconds. Yeah, and he comes out in P2 right behind PhDJ.
On a fresh set of soft tires, so I think he's gonna get the pressure on and get that lead back.
Would it have been wise for some of the other drivers to quickly follow suit into the pits and get a fresh set of tires going? Or do you think staying out would have been the right call for either of you?
It's hard to say. I guess it just depends on the driver and how they're feeling in the car.
Oh, here comes.
Wicco sent it inside on Lewis in just squeaky clean fashion. Looks like Redneck's about to do the same.
Yeah, Redneck's eyeing up that spot too.
Looks like Lewis.
Maybe Lewis's tires are a little bit cold coming out of the pits, haven't quite got up to temperature on these high-speed corners.
Sure seems like it. And I took a look at Wicco's medium tires. The difference between the tire life between the softs and the mediums is legitimately night and day. So I think the mediums were definitely a great call for consistency and finding pace. So we see them coming up towards the tablespoon, and Lewis just slightly taps the wall, but no harm came of it, and he's able to carry on. This, I think, would be one of the more dangerous corners of this circuit, though, just because these cars are quick, and that bridge comes at you very fast. Let's take a look at, ooh, this is interesting. Take a look, for those of you at home and watching this, the battery over in the bottom left corner where the speedometer is, if you see those green arrows on Wicco, he's kind of dabbing the brakes to squeeze out as much charge as he can for that hybrid system, which does seem to be working. I know Redneck had a interesting strategy when it came to charging his hybrid system from what I saw last night. But then again, that could have been just the lobby messing up or something. Whenever he would go into a braking zone, he would pretty much rapidly down and up shift.
Sorry to interrupt you there. We saw Wicco come out of that corner with a little bit of slippage. Lewis took that opportunity, rolled right by him like he just left that door open. Lewis took that advantage. And now you've got Redneck, who is eyeing up that P3 that Wicco currently holds. Wicco seems to be having a little bit of difficulty keeping the traction down on the vehicle right now.
That does appear to be the case, and good spot by you as always, Slow-mo. That was that's unfortunate for Wicco, and now it's also affording Redneck an opportunity to try and overtake. But this straightaway is starting to come to an end, and it looks like Redneck is being mindful and braking accordingly. So magnificently done in terms of racecraft from all of these drivers. It has been absolutely mesmerizing to watch. These guys are giving it everything they have, and they are also being mindful of their fellow competitors. Looks like Wicco is slowly starting to pull away from Redneck, though, for the time being, as we jump on over to Dagger, who's having a nice little bout with Purple Nurple for P5. He's not sitting too healthily in the fuel department, though, so he might want to start considering some alternative measures to conserve some fuel. And looked like Purple Noble tried to send it up the outside, but Dagger was able to keep it parked on the apex, but it did afford Speedy Lee an opportunity to overtake and take P6 from him. And looks like Speedy Lee giving Dagger a bit of a bump draft from that camera perspective, but I could be wrong. And Dagger runs a little wide, but is able to keep it just. I think that's going to afford Purple Norple the opportunity to overtake and take P6 off of his hands if he's not careful. But Speedy Lee is slowly starting to pull away, and I also see there is quite a large gap between P5 and P4. Go ahead, Slomo.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tim, but that P5 is the last position that takes home some cash today. So that is a coveted position, even though it might not be a podium. These guys want to be P5 or better. So they are fighting for that spot. Make no mistake about it. One thing that shocks me, that we saw Dagger run by the pits there. I assumed he was going to stop in and get some fuel, but I guess he's able to get through one more lap on that fuel he's got. He looks like he's doing pretty well with it.
That does appear to be the case, yes. And looking at Purple Nurple coming around towards the corner for the bridge. Just keeping it nicely. We haven't seen anybody, to my knowledge, have the unfortunate run-in with that Armco on the bridge, which is definitely a breath of fresh air. As we jump on over to Redneck C137, who has an astounding lead over Lewis at the moment. I wonder what happened there. Redneck is currently sitting with about a quarter of a tank of fuel, just under 13 and a half minutes left of this race, and they are giving it everything they have. And wow, looking at this, looking at the standings right now, this is going to be interesting to say the least, because you have Jay about 7 seconds ahead of Redneck, Wicko about half a second ahead of Redneck. So we can say Jay has about a 6.5 second lead right now over the rest of the field, but how long will he be able to maintain that lead? Looks like Jay will have to be mindful, because the way Wicko and Redneck are moving together, it looks like there's a teensy bit of passive cooperation there, making sure they're staying clean by each other, using the slipstream to make overtakes on the straightaways. Yeah, that gap could start plummeting quickly depending on how well these two work in tandem. But Jay has gone into the pits. He will have to be very mindful, and Redneck has gone into the pits as well, so Wicko does take the lead for the time being. I just hope that when they leave the pits, it doesn't spit them out in traffic, because judging by the minimap, there's a nice little pack coming towards the start-finish straight, so only time will tell. Wicko able to pull a 5-second lead at the moment, so Lewis definitely has some work ahead of him if he wants to try and secure the victory. As we jump on over to Speedy Lee, who is just behind Jay, who just came out of the pits in P3. In the grand scheme of it, he really didn't lose that many places from it, so well done, Jay. If I had to guess, though, that will be the final pit for Jay and Redneck, as well as Dagger, who is going into the pits. Slow-mo. So, it's interesting to see. Wicko actually had the long game in mind for this race, as he started on the hard compound and then jumped to the mediums, and he hasn't been into the pits since. He's done effectively a one-stopper for this, hasn't he?
Yeah, I love it when a plan comes together, and it looks like Wicko has put that strategy in play and executed it exactly as he planned it out.
Yeah, that just goes to show anything can happen, and sometimes the most unorthodox strategies are the most beneficial. What are your thoughts on what you've seen so far, TKs?
Yeah, it's geez. Let's hold on. Let's see what happens right here with Speedy Lee and Jay real quick as they come over the hill. They're so tight together. But yeah, so it's so hard as a driver not to second guess your strategy and to stick with what you had planned. And sometimes it's best to stick with the plan, and sometimes it's best to adjust your strategy. And I'm curious to find out. Hopefully at the end of this race we'll get to interview Wicko to find out, what was that his plan all along, or did he have to adjust after seeing how those hard compounds were working out there? And it's what makes these races so much fun, when there's multiple strategies and you're going to have to think and adapt and adjust on the fly, as we see that the lap times are much slower than what a lot of these guys were doing in practice. And so that all comes into a play in an endurance race like this.
It does, as we are approaching the 10-minute left mark. And it should be noted that depending on what time some of these drivers cross the line, they will have another lap ahead of them, or at least an attempted another lap ahead of them, as there is the auto end after the checkered flag has been dropped. But either way, this is definitely a race that has had a lot of unexpected events. We've had Wicko starting on the hards, jumping to the mediums, and now has a 17-second gap, actually a 3.5-second gap between himself and P2 in Lewis. But Lewis does have the soft compound, and Wicko is going into the pits. That lead is no longer in Wicko's hands, but only time will tell on what he comes out on. At this stage of the race, I'd say you want to come out on the soft and you want to send it. Looks like Jay will be... Oh, go ahead, Silva.
Wicko needed some fuel. I don't think he was going to be able to make it for the next 10 minutes on the fuel that he had, so he decided to take a fresh set of mediums, and he went ahead and got a splash up to about a quarter of the tank.
Okay, so looks like yeah, this will be the make or break point for some of the drivers. Wouldn't you agree?
100%.
Sure.
As we take a look right now, Jay is now in P2, 13 seconds behind Lewis. About a quarter, actually just over a second ahead of Speedy Lee, but Speedy Lee also has Purple Nurple and Redneck hot on his tail. So this is going to be very interesting, and it's got to be a balancing act psychologically for drivers such as Speedy Lee, where you're trying to close the gap, but you've also got two positions you could lose lest you make a mistake. So it's, I don't know, it's I do not envy what these drivers have to go through. I'm sure the racing is fun, but when you let the mind wander and you're looking at other aspects of it, it's got to be very mentally taxing. As we see Redneck C137 move past Purple Nurple like he is standing still. My goodness.
Great move.
Fantastic move. Looks like Purple Nurple is going to turn up the inside. Oh, go ahead, DKS.
These drivers have to be exhausted. Like, to keep your mind sharp in these cars around this track, and they're all still so close together. It's one thing to drive for an hour around here by yourself. It's another one when you have cars flying past you, going wheel to wheel with you, trying to figure out where to pass it. I mean, mentally, these drivers have to be so exhausted staying concentrated this long. And we've seen so many incidents just be driver error and have nothing to do with any contact. So just to keep it on the track and keep it going straight, it is a real challenge. And Wicko is putting on the pressure here. He needs to make up a lot of positions with that late pit stop if he wants to see himself on the podium.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. He's only got 7 minutes, and it's definitely going to be crunch time. So I just hope he's mindful of the fact that while it is okay to get a little heroic with your maneuvers, you don't want to get tunnel vision and wind up causing an incident because of it. As Wicko shoots it up the inside and moves on past Purple Nurple for P5. That was an insanely talented move by Wicko. He's definitely a top tier driver, and I would not be surprised if he's sitting pretty high in GT1 for World Series. As we jump on up to Redneck C137, who has a man on a mission in Wicko behind him and very steadily closing that gap, and is closing the gap to Speedy Lee at this moment, coming into the braking zone as to make sure there is no contact. He can stay in this race, and is now just trying to find an opening to overtake and get the last spot on the podium as we are approaching the 6 minutes left mark, folks. We're approaching 54 minutes of intense non-stop racing from all these drivers. And my goodness, what a race we've had so far. Redneck taking a lot of the curb as to maximize his exit from the corner and just kind of breathing down Speedy Lee's neck, maybe hoping he'll make a mistake, see if Speedy Lee will crack under the pressure. Only time will tell. This has been insane so far. Redneck runs a little wide and gets swirly, but is able to save it. And Wicko is very, very rapidly closing that gap. So we might see a three-way shootout for P3 over the remaining 5.5 minutes of this race, guys.
Yeah, Speedy has gotten wide with Redneck following him. He is not giving him any opportunities to pass. He's making it very difficult to find an opening there. So I don't know if he put the wide body kit on his car when he was in the pits last or not, but man, he is running a great race here, playing defensive against Redneck.
That he is indeed, and just take a look at that delta. it is closing rapidly, and Wicco's about to definitely turn this into a three-way shootout for P3. As we see,
Redneck.
Speedy Lee might be able to take P3 back from Redneck C137. I'm sorry, TKS, were you going to say something?
Oh, just pointing out Redneck taking Speedy Lee's spot and now as Wicco does the same.
That uphill corner is definitely a tricky bugger. You can do too wide, but if either of you guys were racing, would you try and overtake in that corner?
Not for me, no. I would try and limit my overtakes to the straights if I had that opportunity, but boy, these guys are just a level above, what you would normally see on a day-to-day daily race, and they are making passes in places you would never imagine.
That was
And
beautiful.
That
was beautiful. He took the outside line to set himself up on the inside of the right-hander and just smooth as butter right through there.
Yeah, that was buttery smooth. That was calculated. And I would expect nothing less from Wicco, who over on the Saturday was having a very dominant showing in Division B. So it's, I think this is just second nature for Wicco. And honestly, with how a lot of these drivers are racing, it does look like this is just second nature for a lot of them. That's why I like to refer to our drivers as world-class drivers, because the driving styles they have, the driving standards, the racing etiquette, all of it is top-notch. And as we are approaching the 3-minute mark, this is pretty much going to be the white flag lap whenever Lewis crosses the line. This is definitely the closing stages of the race, and if anybody wants to try and get those last-minute positions and do it in a safe and orderly fashion, now's the time. As we jump back over to Wicco, who does have to fend with Redneck hot on his tail, and Wicco is now very rapidly closing the gap to Jay. So I think Jay's going to have to try and drive defensively for the next 2.5 minutes. That's right, folks. We only have 150 seconds left of this race. It's, and Wicco gets squirrely, but saves it, and also sent a purple for his trouble. That's interesting. So, TKs, if you're in the closing stages of this race, and you know you have P2 secured, but you have somebody of Wicco's caliber hot on your tail, what are some of the things that are going to be going through your mind as somebody who does, well, way more intense racing than Slow-Mo or I do?
I would be doing my best to focus on myself and my race. If he is looking in the mirror, he'll also see that Redneck's right there. And so you're kind of hoping Redneck and Wicco continue to fight with each other. Let them battle it out, and you focus on you. You know, the race is almost over. You've worked so hard for this moment. You just have to finish, keep your car pointed in the right direction, and don't get distracted by what's going on behind you.
Rightfully so. As we have 90 seconds left of this race, it's still anybody's game. Anything can happen. As we see Redneck starting to fly up behind Wicco for that last podium spot. But will Wicco be able to hold him off? Only time will tell.
He's going to try around the outside to set himself up on the inside, just like Wicco did. Redneck has been so patient this race. I've noticed there have been so many times where I've thought he's going to pull out and make the pass, and he just stays. He just tucks in, stays right behind, and waits for opportunities just like that to make the overtake. And I think we're seeing that with a lot of these guys. They've learned it's better to get the good exit than it is to get the position necessarily. So if you set yourself up right, and Slow-Mo and I were talking about this before the race, you got to be thinking 3 corners ahead. If you're thinking about the corner right in front of you, then you're already going to get overtaken, 2 corners ahead, because the person behind you's thinking about what's going on up there.
I couldn't agree more. As we approach the last 30 seconds before the checkered flag, Wicco only has these next couple of corners, and there's a huge moment for Wicco to overtake it to P3 back at the last possible moment. And he does. Wicco is able to take P3 back from Redneck C137 with 7 seconds left in this race.
Redneck's back ahead.
Oh, Redneck is now back in the lead. This is going to be a very intense fight as the closing seconds of this race. And that is it. When they cross the line, it is the checkered flag. Jay will be happily taking P2 in a very steady and honestly relaxed fashion. Redneck C137 moving over. Will he try?
He gave the position
He
back.
gave the position back to Wicko. Well, good on you, Redneck. And speedily coming in and securing our top 5. That was interesting.
I did not see what happened. I wonder if Redneck felt like he did something, maybe made some contact or maybe unintentionally blocked or something that he felt like wasn't okay and decided to move out of the way. Wow.
Yeah, and one thing that's really interesting, you'll see that Lewis went across the finish line before we hit that 1 hour mark, so he's got to finish his next lap before he gets to see the checkered flag for himself.
That is very true indeed, and well, in terms of the standings, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see. The way they do the endurance races is so interesting. As we see Fenrir come across the line for P9, Throwback Cat over rounding out our top 10 for this race. Looks like he's sitting quite comfortably ahead of Angry Fredbird, Skeletor et al. It's this has been an insane race from everything we've seen so far, as the sun is now completely coming down. So let's go and give a huge round of congratulations to our Season 3 Division B champion, Lewis. Lewis, that was a dominant showing, and we can't wait to get your thoughts when you get here in the booth. My goodness, that was just a master.
He's not taking it easy either on this final lap. Like, he could be celebrating, and no, he's pushing these corners. He's got no tires left. I mean, love to see it. That's a racer right there.
Yeah, it's essentially a victory lap, but he went ahead and just kept pushing.
That he did, and I am getting a word from production that we have received a $49.99 donation from Hector. My goodness. Thank you so much for the support, Hector. That is not anything to sneeze at by any stretch of the imagination. But starting with you, TK, so what do you think of the race we just saw?
I mean, wow. So many position changes, drama at the start. There was never a dull moment out on the track, and it was I couldn't. Every time I thought I knew who was going to win, something would happen.
I couldn't agree more. So let's take a look at the classified results for this race. So, currently sitting as our NRL Division B Season 3 champion, Lewis, in P1, followed not too far behind in P2 with PHGJ, rounding out our podium finishers for this evening will be Wicko, followed by PHG Redneck C137, PHG Speedy Lee rounding out our top 5, Purple Nurple 88 in P6, followed by PHG Dagger, PHG Papa. Down over in P9, we have PHG Fenrir, followed by Angry Fredbird, with PHG Skeletor 698 sitting in P11, followed by PHG Horn of Plenty, and then Turtle Shell, and rounding out our grid will be Throwback Cat. This was an intense race, and honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I thought seeing 301s from some of the drivers, I thought we'd see just pure domination, but my goodness, it was a lot of back and forth. Wouldn't you agree, Slow-Mo?
I would 100% agree. And, as you see, Redneck had the fastest lap, but still didn't even end up on the podium, right? So, Lewis just out there being Mr. Consistent, hitting his apexes, running the race that he planned on. It looked like he executed the perfect strategy. I mean, we saw him with a gap of almost 30 seconds at one point. In a group of racers with this much skill, that is exceptional.
That is exceptional indeed. I'm mind blown. This was an intense race. Everybody gave everything they had. We saw people throwing out strategies left, right, and center. It was it's definitely a race that is worthy of the title of Grand Finals. And overcoming a race like this, like, yeah, Lewis earned that victory. That was a masterclass in driving, and just once again, congratulations to all of our drivers who made it to the finals for Division B of the NRL's third season. You all put so much time and effort into this, and it definitely shows. Now, moving on over to the interviews for this, we will start with Wicko. Wicko, how are you doing, sir?
Excellent, guys. How are you guys? That was fantastic.
Oh, couldn't agree more. That was terrific to see. So we saw you started on the hards and then jumped over to the mediums. Were you originally intending to do a no stopper, or were you just trying to stay out as long as possible?
Yeah, so I meant to stay on hards for as long as possible. I knew I could do about 11 laps. And then it was a last second decision to decide on mediums or softs. So I didn't know how it was going to go.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely worked out in your favor, though. And especially with how you bounced back from that grid start at the beginning of the race. It was definitely less than stellar, but now look at where it got you. You're here at the podium. It was just excellent work all around from you, Wicko, and just congratulations. Now, Slomo, do you have any questions for Wicko this evening?
Yeah, Wicko, in that start that Toon was talking about here, there were a lot of position change. There was a lot of mix-up going on there. During that start, did you ever kind of question yourself and think, man, maybe I shouldn't have started on the hards, or did you feel pretty comfortable that you had the strategy you were going to stick with?
So believe it or not, I started off in second gear. So that's why I fell back. So after that, I was like, well, my strategy is gone. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to catch up 20 seconds that I already lost. And it was rough getting back through the pack.
Well, great race. Congratulations on third place finish in this season. So exciting to watch. TKs, how about you? What do you have for Wicko today?
Wicko, congratulations, man. That was exciting. We talked about you a lot during this race. We at one point thought you were on a no stopper, then kind of all over the place. And we did note though your battery recharge. Can you explain to us a little bit what you were doing as far as trying to make sure you still had some battery going?
So the battery was tricky. You can hold the brake a little bit, but if you brake hard at the end, you're fine. And then the really quick shifts at every corner actually recharges the battery just a little bit.
Yeah, we were watching you, and it was interesting. We could tell you were doing something different, but I wasn't quite sure what it was that you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how I figured it out. It just kind of happened. But halfway through the race, I was like, my fuel was fine, but I started losing track once the second half of the race. I was like, I can't even guesstimate how many laps were remaining. And then obviously the very last lap, it was the same thing. I thought I was going to run out of fuel, and then the race ended.
Wow, that is awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the P3 season 3 in the books. You did a great job this season, man.
Thanks, guys. Congrats to Lewis here in this one.
Yeah, congratulations indeed, Wicko. You go celebrate a very hard-earned podium finish after a very dominant season, some might say. But thank you so very much for your time, and hopefully you're ready to sit back, relax, and enjoy the Division A race up ahead.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, McNaughty, for holding this.
Great season, Wicko.
Now moving on over to our P2 finisher for this afternoon, Jay. Jay, how are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. What an incredible race that was.
That was incredible indeed. So, my first question for you. So, last night in practice, things definitely didn't go according to plan. Seeing as how you've made your way all the way up to P2 for this final, how's that feeling as a just knowing you went from around the P5, P6 area all throughout practice to coming and securing a podium spot?
Oh man, I felt incredible. Honestly, I did not expect to get podium spot, but I'll take the victory. Congratulations to Lewis. Also, I was concerned after the practice lap last night. I seen Lewis lap us all. He did it again, but I was, you know what? I'm just gonna do my race, have my fun, and stay focused, and it all worked out. It was a rocky start, first few turns, but it all worked out great.
And it did. Before I kick the questions over to the other commentators, I do have one question for you. When you saw you had Wicco hot on your tail towards the tail end of that at the tail end of the race, what was going through your mind? Because like one slip up could have costed you one, even two positions.
Well, it was extremely nerve-wracking. Not only did I have Wicco and Redneck, one of the two fastest guys, in the division, but at the same time, right at that moment, baby started screaming and yelling, and I was just telling my wife, please, please keep her calm. I'm almost done. 2 more laps, 2 more laps. And then I see the time just slowly, they're slowly catching up to me. I'm like, all right, stay in the zone, stay in the zone. Just don't look back. Just keep going. and then slowly but surely, I seen gaining my distance again. So I started feeling comfortable again. So I mean, it worked out great.
Glad to hear it. I think a Happy Meal is definitely in order for the little one.
For sure.
Slow-mo, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Jay, well done. Congratulations on your second place finish for NRL B Division Season 3 here. Tell us a little bit about, as you were going through that race, was there any point where you thought maybe you need to adjust your strategy, or did you stick to your guns through the whole race?
Well, after yesterday's practice, I 100% was doubting my strategy. I was really questioning it, but then, I came to the conclusion where it was too late to change my strategy, and I was just going to go all in and stick to my guns. So, again, I'm glad it really worked out. I expected Redneck to take over, but he was busy fighting Wicco, so I guess that was good for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. TKs, what do you have for Jay today?
Yeah, Jay, congratulations, man.
Thank
PhD
you.
and P2. Doing the paparazzi proud. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
you mentioned Redneck. I've noticed you guys were pretty much on the exact same strategy. Had you guys worked together to figure out that strategy? Because you guys were
Yeah.
right there together at the end.
Yeah, Redneck and I had a lot of practice over the week. A lot of communication between him and I. Originally, I was actually changing my strategy. I was going to use a different strategy, but practicing with Wicco, not Wicco, Redneck, I was like, you know what, this might work. I'm going to implement it. So shout out to Redneck because I actually, thought about my strategy thanks to him.
Well, that's awesome. And he was right there at the end. It was close. But I thought that was really interesting. And this is something we were talking about in the race, and you mentioned there just how difficult was it to not look behind you at what was happening in that last bit, as far as getting chased down. Was it easy for you to stay focused, or were you just
But,
completely enamored with what was happening?
absolutely. I did, it was definitely nerve-wracking once I know Wicco and Redneck was, right behind me. I was like, well, if they catch up, I'm not going to have a choice but to let them go. So I'm glad that wasn't the case.
Well, that's awesome, man. You did a great job. Congratulations on P2.
Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations to Lois. He did an incredible job.
Yeah, congratulations indeed. Jay, before we go, I do want to touch on something you said last night and the significance of having that hybrid system charged up for as long as possible. Were you taking any special precautions to try and keep your hybrid system at least active for as long as possible? Or do you think the racing action took more of a priority at that point?
Well, when I was practicing, I told myself that regen should be my priority after I got comfortable with the track and the car, because I knew that was going to play a huge role towards the end of the race. If you did not have any regen left and anybody else did, they're just going to fly by past you and you had no chance. So my strategy was to start saving regen from the beginning of the race, which of course that was very challenging, how tight and close we were. So first few laps I did not regen, but then after that I seen it going down, and I'm like, all right, I gotta keep this green open. I gotta make sure it doesn't run out.
Well, it definitely looks like it worked out in your favor. Congratulations once again for an astounding P2 finish. And yeah, you take some time to relax, decompress, go get you and the little one something to eat, and yeah, hope you'll be able to catch the Division A race coming up.
Thank you, guys. I'll definitely be watching Division A, and congratulations to you guys. You guys doing an amazing job. Congratulations to McNaughty also. Shout out to him for putting all this together. It's been a great adventure. All right, take care, guys. Have a good one. See you in the next one.
Great
You
job,
too, Jay.
Jay. Congrats.
All right, now it's time we have a word with our NRL Division B Season 3 champion, Lewis. Lewis, how are you feeling? Lewis, you're muted, sir.
Yeah,
There
can
we
you
go.
hear me?
Sure
Excellent. Oh man, I'm happy. I think the birth of my child is now my second best day ever. This is it, man. Yo, the disrespect! Like you guys were talking before the race. Like, who are you? Who is your pick? Nobody picked me. What the hell, man?
You
We
just
didn't
needed
want to
that
hit you with
extra
the announcers
motivation.
first, you know?
Yeah, you need the motivation. Why are you coming at us? Look at where it got you. We didn't say your name, and you came and turned up. You made the name for yourself. You didn't have us. If anything, you should be saying thank you, commentators.
You know what? Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you had a dominant run, and judging by the lap times, it wasn't even due to
Talent.
you know.
You can say it.
No,
It's 100% strategy, though. Okay, go ahead.
But it wasn't due to like any mind-blowing lap times. You had consistency on your side for that. And just how were you navigating that track to be able to turn a half-second lead into like a 12-second? At one point, you had what, almost a 30-second lead over
Yeah.
P2? Yeah. So, how did you go about the track in a way to afford you that much of a runoff through pretty much every single corner?
So for me, it was 100% strategy, picking the right times to change tires and like get as little fuel as possible to last me for the whole race. So that was pretty much it. Because I know that I'm not as fast as Rico, and I'm not as fast as, definitely not as fast as Redneck. So all I have to do is just hope they push so much that their tires become really difficult to handle. And me going a little bit slower, I can get like maybe one more lap out of a soft tire, right? And use that to my advantage. But it was all about, you know what? Like I was so worried, man, because in when I was checking the times, and like last week, I was looking like at average times and everything. I never considered the hard tires. And when I saw that Wico started the race with hard tires, I started panicking. Like, what does he know? What the hell does he know? But it turned out when I saw him pitting, I was relieved because I knew. I mean, the biggest issue is controlling the car with dead tires. You saw it probably in the race yesterday, in the practice race. I mean, you slip and you can lose like 15 seconds when you hit a wall or something. So um, I just decided to go a little bit slower when the tires were dead. Just, as long as I kept it around 3 minute and 8 second laps, I knew that I had a good shot. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely worked out in your favor. TKs, any questions?
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Lewis, congratulations, man. That was
Thanks, man.
amazing. It was so dominant. There was a couple, lead changes here or there, but for the most part, like you said, you're just running your race, putting down your times. Yeah, I did note that your strategy was just slightly off a few laps from some of the other guys who finished
Yeah.
around you. Alluding to, seeing that Wicco was on the hards. at any point did you think about truly changing your strategy, or even after seeing that and being a little worried, were you like, no, my strategy, I got this?
No, so I knew that I was going to do one stint on mediums and two stints on soft. I just didn't know the order. So it was all dependent on the starting grid. We had doubts. We didn't know if McNaughty was going to invert the grid. So if I was going to start in the back, I was going to start on mediums, but I started up in the front. So I just started in soft. That was the whole switch. I was maybe considering going 7 laps on softs at the beginning if by some sort of miracle I could save the tires, but I didn't. My tires were dead by lap 6. So the strategy that I picked was pretty much the one that I planned. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, way to stick to it. I know that it's so hard to do, especially when you see other people that you know might be quicker doing something different.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to do. I mean, you kept a level head, and it's so cool to see somebody just drive out in clean air and push it. And I mean, consistency is key in an endurance race, and you were definitely the most consistent out there. So congratulations. Way to be the winner, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Now I'm just worried that a bunch of PhD guys are gonna show up at my house tonight and break my leg.
They're a nice group of guys. Don't you worry.
I don't know. I hear Papa does have his own little hit squad, so I wouldn't be too sure. Anyway, Slow-Mo, any questions for our soon-to-be broken-legged winner?
Yeah. Lewis, congratulations on the season 3
Thanks, man.
victory. Beautiful race today. I think this is a great opportunity to point out to a lot of the folks watching that there's so many variables that go into a race. So many different things can happen, go wrong, go right. Was there a turning point in today's race where you felt really confident? I mean, we talked about the gaps that you saw. They opened, they widened, they shortened. Was there any point in today's race where you're like, you know what, I got this?
I think by the second pit stop. I mean, when I came out of the pits, I was at the same, like I was close to Wico and Redneck, I think, and Nurple as well. But see, the problem is I play on VR on the headset, right? So I don't see the times between me and the people up front and the people in the back. I don't know who pitted. I don't know anything, right? So I'm actually listening to you guys in a booth, like commentating and kind of getting a feeling of the times based on what you guys are saying, right? So for a good part of the track, you guys weren't even mentioning me, so I took that as a good sign because the fighting was happening in the second and third for the second and third spots. So I thought, as long as they don't talk about me, I'm good. that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you personally, I watched your race from my perspective as I'm one of those drivers who I don't do all that well out front. I drive better behind somebody. At any point where is that something you're comfortable at driving in the lead? Is that something you enjoy, or would you rather have had somebody to chase?
Brother, I don't enjoy driving up front. In the back, I hate it. I make so many mistakes. Like the whole weaving incident from last week, like I'm still getting nightmares about it. So I'm still kind of learning how to be like comfortable driving and like following the rules and not hitting people or anything. So it's no, I hate it. I hate this game. Like I'm not gonna do this again. This is so stressful. Crap.
Yeah, no, master.
You know what I have to deal with. Yeah, you know what I have to deal with now? Because one of the reasons why my wife allows me to play as much, has allowed me to play this much these last few weeks, is because I told her that there was money involved. So now I got to tell her I might win $60, and $60 is not enough for the unreasonable amount of time that I'm putting in here. So I'm going to be sleeping on the couch for 2 weeks, I think. It's fine. Worth it.
No, you can't make the victor sleep on the couch. That's just not right.
At least go buy a new couch for him to sleep on.
There we go.
For $60? Good luck.
Goodwill. It's okay. You'll be all right. But congratulations, Lewis. Before we go, we did ask Jay and Wico about their focus on the hybrid system for the car. Now, you said you drive in VR, so you don't have access to as many of the variables everybody else does with just playing on the wheel on their TV or something.
Yeah.
So in VR, are you able to see things like how much hybrid system you have charged up and things of that nature,
Yes.
or do you have to rely
So
on the in-car instruments?
So a lot of the elements on the screen that you guys see when not racing in VR are there. The major one that's lacking is the standings and your position in the grid and the times between you and the other drivers. That's the one thing that the only one thing that is missing. That is incredibly important, right? So, but everything else, I do have access to it. Yeah. So I knew that my hybrid, like my battery, was out by lap 12. It was fine. I knew it was going to happen anyways. I was worried about Purple Nurple because for some reason he couldn't get the battery to be charged up still in lap 15 or 16, but that thankfully it didn't work for him. Haha. I'm kidding, Jimmy. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Then, yeah, seeing as how you do have access to the data, such as your hybrid system, how much of a focus did you put on it to like keep it charged up and try and leverage that as much as possible to your advantage?
Oh, it was not in the game plan at all. Like I know that I'm not good enough at braking to charge it, so I just knew that once it was out, it wasn't going to be an issue. I wasn't going to count on it for the rest of the race. So no, I didn't consider it.
All right. Well, it does seem it worked out in your favor. Congratulations once again, our NRL Season 3 Division B champion, everybody, Lewis. Let's give it up for him. But thank you so much for
Thank
your
you,
time.
guys.
Great job. And I hope you're ready to just
All right.
relax and
Take care.
unwind for the rest of the day. Have a great day.
Yeah, yeah, I am. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
All right, everybody. That concludes our Division B final and its festivities. Now it's time we take a brief intermission to get ready for our Division A final for this afternoon. So we'll have a brief interlude, and when we come back, it'll be Flawed, Rob, and TK's here to give you all the action. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone, and what a fantastic final we just witnessed as Division B draws to a close. From myself, Flawed Genius Gaming, a big round of applause to all those that took part, as well as the podium finishers and the Division B champion, Louise. Congratulations. And also thank you to Toon, Slow-Mo and T-Case on their amazing comms as per usual. They will be back a bit later on, as now I'm here to present for the final time in the NRL Season 3, the final for Division A. We started off with 32 drivers in round 1 across 2 separate days of heats. 5 weeks on, through successive elimination rounds, we are down to just 14 drivers merged together for this grand finale to determine who will be crowned champion of Season 3. It's certainly going to be a very important day for the drivers, where they will need to keep their emotions under control and make every move count. Well, 2 people that I'm sure won't have their emotions under control are my 2 legendary commentators alongside me in the booth. The first of which apparently isn't from Birmingham and likes to stay on top of things. Bringing his data-driven approach, as always, Mr. Statman is, of course, the one and only Rob G. Barker. Good evening, and how are you, my friend?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you once again, Flawed, for that wonderful introduction. Firstly, let me just take a quick moment to congratulate our Division B winner this evening, Lewis. Congratulations, impeccable drive, and well done on your NRL Season 3 championship. However, we are here. All the races have been done, and the drivers have been whittled down to this, the final showdown to crown this season's Division A NRL champion. This one is going to be exciting, guys.
Yes, indeed it is, Rob, and awesome to have you back alongside me. The second commentator with me tonight, just back from commentating from the Division B final. It's a man that certainly, again, will have his work cut out and earning his dues with this extended grid tonight, keeping us up to date with all things happening up and down the grid with his analytical approach. We would be lost without him. It is the ever-present T-Case. How are you today, sir? And how are you feeling after that Division B final?
Whew, I'm still reeling, man. That was incredible. I'm so happy to be back for this race. Thoroughly enjoyed the first race today. So much fun. It did not go how I expected it to go, and I'm hoping this is the same. Big thanks to Slow-Mo. You know, it was between me and him to do this second race, and he asked what I wanted, and I said I want Spa. Spa is my favorite track, hands down, and I love Formula One, so I'm super excited to be a part of this race. So thanks, Slow-Mo, for giving me the opportunity to do this race as well, and I'm happy to be back here with you, Flawed, and you, Rob G.
Yeah, absolute pleasure to have you alongside me. Of course, you've been that ever-present throughout the Saturday races. So, yeah, good to have you back with us. And hopefully it's going to be a great final. Before we get into today's last race, I've got to say a big thank you to J-Dog for the $20 and Duke Thunder for the $10. The sheer kindness from you two, fantastic to see. We thank you very much for them donations. And I also want to say, on behalf of the whole McNulty's production team, a warm and big thank you to everyone that supported us throughout this season, from everyone spectating the races to all those interacting in chat, to all the likes, the subscribers on a weekly basis. And of course, the sheer kindness from the community donating to an unprecedented level. Because I have to say, compared to Season 2, we have had double the participants entered into Season 3, which meant for the first time we have had 2 divisions on show across 2 days and double the hosts for the broadcasts. Double is certainly the key word here, as we have also received double the donations, which has doubled the prize pot for the drivers, us in the commentary booth, as well as the hard workers behind the scenes with the stewards and the production team. From the bottom of our hearts, a sincere thank you. We highly appreciate you all. So, on to the main event for tonight then, the grand finale of Season 3. We are off to Belgium for the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps for the final race of Division A. Racers will be driving the Formula 1500 TA cars around this 4.3 mile length circuit with a total of 20 turns. This Formula car is very much reminiscent of the V6 engines of the 1980s era, where they'll be reaching speeds well in advance of 200 miles per hour in this beefy 986 bhp V6 powered engine with a mere 540 kilos in weight. That's 1,190 pounds to the Americans out there. There'll be no qualifying for this race, as the grid will be determined on their final ranking after last week's semi-final overall points accumulation, and there will be a full start grid check. Drivers will need to tame the beast and keep it fast and consistent with 1 hour of racing here at Spa. Drivers have all 3 tyre compounds at their disposal, that is the softs, mediums and hards, but also the intermediates and wets, as it's not too unusual to have 4 seasons in one day at this very location. So there could be a big possibility of rain at some point in this race. It is also believed that many strategies could be on play this afternoon, as these cars are fuel guzzlers. The fuel consumption is set to ×2, but there is no chance of a no-stopper no matter how much fuel saving they do. Although this still could become a factor, as the refuel speed is set to a very low 3 litres a second, and with a very long pit stop and pit lane, every second will count. BOP is turned on. However, the drivers can tinker with their brake balance and their dampening settings. How much this affects the cars, I'm not 100% sure, but with the power of these machines, the drivers will need to be careful with one another and keep it on the circuit. As with all these Division A races, heavy damage is enabled. Good luck to all the drivers out there. Nerves, I'm sure, will be jangling with so much at stake. Prize money going down to as far as 7th on the grid. This will mean so much to everyone participating. And in just over an hour, we'll find out who'll be crowned champion for Season 3 in the NRL. From myself and the whole of the McNulty's production team, best of luck. Rob, can you lead us on to the driver lineup participating in the final, please?
Absolutely can. Just to note, folks, this race, there is no points on offer. It is winner takes all, with the top 7 drivers claiming that monetary prize. And looking at the drivers on your screen there, we have the Grove Street Racing GSR Lacabra 809. We have GSR I'm Mullet for Grove Street Racing. Also, Gran Turismo, the free agent, will line up in this one. PHG Salamander, first of the PHG Papa House of Game drivers in the Div A. And we have S7R Slipstream for Sector 7 Racing. It'll be VTX Blyman GT for Vertex Racing. The True Serum for Sector 7 also. Grove Street Racing GSR Shaggy Doo lines up also alongside Talon as a free agent. ND Hop, third of our free agents in this lineup so far. GLK Sneaky from the Hawko Racing Academy. Then we have MMR Moose 21 from Moof Mafia Racing. Jessa, a free agent, and final driver of this Div A grid will be Deputy Fishtail.
Excellent.
Please do go and check those guys. Please do go and check out the guys' socials, whether it be Twitch, YouTube, or any other platform. Please do go and give these guys a follow.
Excellent stuff, Rob. Sorry to cut in there. Didn't mean to. Didn't go according to script. But but certainly really looking forward to this Division A final. I need to get quick thoughts, really, guys, on your prediction of who could become champion of Season 3. That goes to you, Rob, first.
For me, I think it's going to be Mullet. Fantastic all season.
Okay, and T-Case?
It's anybody's game. I just can't make predictions here. There's too many variables going on here at Spa.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for not going for the favourite, because there are, but basically, any one of 14 drivers could win this, as the drivers do line up to start this 1 hour race at Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, the 24-hour layout. As the red lights come up, we got Le Cabron on pole position with Mullet in P2, Dan Turismo in P3, Lice Rat, and away we go. Oh, it looks like already in the background a bit of commotion between P4 and P5. It was Slipstream on Blyman, but getting them through the El Rouge quite cleanly there. In the end, there was a gaggle of cars behind, though, queuing up, looking to pounce on any gaps that proceed in front of them. But so far, Mullet up into pole position, actually, in front of Le Cabron in P2, and Dan Turismo into P3. So a fast and frantic start with all the drivers. Rob, I mean, this is looking lively already.
Yeah, it's always going to be a lively one with this kind of car at this kind of iconic circuit. But Mullet with an absolutely fantastic start, gets the jump, and Le Cabron moving to P1 off the start line. And we had some other movers and shakers with, as you said, Dan Turismo. It looks like Moose is making up some places as well. But yeah, lots of shakers and movers around this one. It's fast, it's frantic, and we're only 1 minute and 10 seconds in.
T-Case, tell us about some of the other drivers up and down the grid, because I have just noticed Salamander down in P13 and MD Hop in 14th as well.
Yeah, Salamander ended up running wide into the double left-hander, getting his right tires on the green stuff, and it just sucks you out a little bit, and he fell back in position. And it looked like a couple of people, when they went 3 wide, there's not enough room for 3 cars to go into some of these corners, and somebody's going to end up losing out.
Yes, indeed. Well, the drivers will have to remember that, of course, it is... as Dan Turismo goes wide, I think he spun on the curb, and that lost him a position to Slipstream as he went up the inside of Dan Turismo into P3. And I can't believe how much action's going off already in the first 2 minutes of this race. We've got another 58 minutes to go. So with all this action going off in 2 minutes, I'm expecting quite a bit of drama in this race as we look on board with VTX Blyman in P5. That's had a good solid start to this race. Does find himself 1.3 seconds behind Dan Turismo. It's certainly very close between P2 in Le Cabron, Slipstream, and Dan Turismo, where each of them are looking to take advantage should a opportunity prevail. But both, in fact, the trio getting solid runs through the double gauche there. Certainly it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers get on with all different types of strategies out there. We're on board with Slipstream at the moment, who is using these soft tyres. But Tico's, any difference in tyres between the drivers?
Yeah, there is. It's just softs and mediums out there. The majority of the drivers are on the softs, but I think that's one of the things that happened to Salamander that caused him to fall back as far as he did. He was the only driver in that top group on the mediums. Everybody else was on the softs. So we have Salamander, MD Hop, Sneaky, Moose, and Jesser on the mediums. Everybody else is on the soft tires.
Okay, well, we're just on board with Slipstream as he got very close to the rear of Le Cabron as we approach La Source. We're already on lap 3 of this 1 hour race. And Slipstream, looking to use the slipstream from Le Cabra as we go up the hill. And yeah, he's getting sucked along. Le Cabra is going to defend the inside line and try to hold off slipstream, and he does that successfully for the time being, but under all sorts of pressure from the Kiwi driver of slipstream in P3. This is certainly looking very close here, Rob.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff so far. Just got a quick shout out for the slipstream livery. Absolutely stunning looking, almost John Player-esque livery. But yeah, wonderful job on the livery there. GG, sir.
Indeed. And for a moment there, it looked like Le Cabra got all sorts of sideways out of the corner there. Just managed to gain control of the car and keep in front of slipstream. Of course, Le Cabra was leading the championship going into to this race. Of course, the points mean nothing now, apart from the starting grid where he started on pole position. But was very, very dominant in his Friday heats. And I do believe, going on the stats, he won 3 out of the 4 races from Friday. So certainly a driver in contention for, becoming champion of Season 3. As we ride on board with Moose, currently in the top 10. He finds himself just half a second down on the Truth Serum, who also was very strong in the Friday heat. So he finds himself just behind Shaggy Doo in P8 as well. It is looking rather intense between these 3 drivers as the Truth Serum defends the inside Moose on the switcheroo. What a fantastic move from Moose up into P9. I mean, that was music to my ears, right, Rob?
Oh, that was an absolute textbook manoeuvre from Moose. And again, another fantastic livery on the 1500. Obviously, his car isn't a real car, but he's heavily based. It does look like the True Serum gets a much better run into the Kemmel Straight, moving up to the combs, and does get back past Moose. Moose obviously on the medium tyre, but yeah, don't take it away from me. That was an absolutely incredible move into the source.
It did look like as if Moose let him through there. Is that correct, T-Case?
I couldn't quite tell if it was intentional or not. And I've also been noticing with this pressure on Shaggy Doo, his car's kind of jumping all over the place. At least it is on my screen. So that's got to make it a little bit difficult for the Truth Serum as he finally gets past Shaggy. And here we go as Moose gets by him as well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it did look like netcode, but luckily for the True Serum and Moose, safely able to get up the inside of Shaggy Doo. Shaggy Doo down into 10th position. Not sure if Shaggy Doo was aware of this at all, but it did look rather easy for the Canadian and Moose to pit Shaggy Doo into P8 and P9 respectively, as we look on board back on the leaders then in Le Cabra in P2. Now he finds himself 3.8 seconds adrift of Mullet already on the soft tyres as well, so no advantage for Le Cabra here. But strategies definitely will come into play here, as alluded to at the top of the broadcast, that fuel strategies could come into play here, because with a very slow refill rate, any fuel saving could pay dividend when it comes to actually making your pit stops. But what are your thoughts, Rob?
Yeah, looking at the data currently, I mean, we're on to lap 5. We jump on board with Mullet. That fuel tank is almost creeping towards the halfway mark. We are only 8 minutes into the race. It's going to be a long race. The tyres are dropping off quite quickly on the rear. As we said before, 986 brake horsepower on these 1.5 litre V6 540 kilo cars. It's going to be quite tricky to keep those tyres in check. Brake balance is allowed, so I imagine the majority of the drivers are going to be pushing that brake bias forward to try and protect the rear tyre, because it is susceptible to lighting up the rears on exit. But yeah, fuel's going to be an interesting one. We are 8 minutes, just coming up to 9 minutes. It looks like Salamander's going to pile on a bit of pressure onto Shaggy Doo as they make their way through campus into the later parts of the lap. Stavlo coming up the right-hander into turn 15 they go. That gap has increased a little bit more. Still, some interesting stuff starting to boil.
Indeed, and what are your thoughts, T-Case? Because of course you're the man in control with some of the cameras there. It does look like Shaggy Doo is falling back a little bit, and is he on an inferior tyre at all?
He's on the soft tire. I'm not sure what's going on, why he's been falling back. He has been using quite a bit of fuel. He's almost at half a tank, where some of these drivers, are a little more at the 2/3 mark. So he's been using fuel. It's not that he's been fuel saving, and he's on the racy tire. So I'm not sure what exactly is going on, as he just now gets overtaken by Salamander going up Eau Rouge.
Okay, interesting development then. Perhaps we'll see. I mean, I've tested these cars myself personally, and definitely a big handling difference between heavy fuel and a light load, as we see Salamander go up the inside, quite daring as well.
That's
just
brave.
Before the just before El Rouge as well. You definitely can't go too wide through there. So brave racing there from the pair of them, and fair play to Shaggy Doo actually for giving him the space and letting him through there. He'll be looking to try and close back in on Salamander, but actually he's got Deputy Fishtail for company just behind him in P12.
Le Cabra just went off.
As Le Cabra goes wide! Le Cabra goes wide onto the AstroTurf. That's going to give him dirty tyres. Slipstream around the outside moves up into P2 with the overspeed, and Le Cabra goes wide as well. That's probably going to give him a penalty there, Rob.
Yeah, that's going to be a potential penalty there. The dirty tyres, as you alluded to, and there it is. That is the 0.5, and with Gran Turismo only a second or so behind the penalty line here, although it's a 0.5 penalty, it does tend to give you quite a significant amount of more time. But what a move! What an incredible little section of racing there. That was fantastic.
Well, I did allude to the fact that any one of these drivers could win this race here. Slipstream had really, really good pedigree actually going into this final. He wasn't available for one race, but I believe he won 2 out of the 3 races that he performed in. It was, in fact, a bit worth from production. It was 2 wins and 1 second place. So certainly Slipstream has got the pedigree and the know-how to really win a race, or at least finish up at the top. But so far, it's looking absolutely fantastic for Iron Mullet, because now he has a 5.2 second gap in front of Slipstream, and looking to pull away. But certainly in... I would rather be in that position, not under pressure at all. It's just about him being solid and keeping the car on the circuit, trying to sort of keep the consistency up and provide the fast laps. But certainly, if you look at his lap delta, well, he's been hitting 1 minute 51. His fastest lap was on lap 6 with a 1 minute 50.970, which is just 1/10 slower than Slipstream. See, Gran Turismo around the outside of Le Cabra. It does look like Le Cabra has got a little bit of a problem right now. He's lost 2 positions in 1 lap. And of course, I've just heard from production, he's just served out half a second penalty. So as Rob was alluding to earlier, half a second doesn't sound like a lot, but in these cars, it makes a massive difference, because these cars are traveling over 200 miles per hour down the straight. So that is quite significant. We look on board on P6 and P7 at the moment with Talon in P7. He finds himself just under 2 seconds behind Sneaky in P6 and 3.5 seconds in front of the Truth Serum in P8. Looking rather comfortable at the moment. He's running the racing soft tyres. The rear tyres starting to look a little bit worse for wear though. So he will need to be a little bit careful as we're approaching a quarter of the way through this 1 hour race at Spa. But But yeah, I would imagine the soft runners all going to be a little bit precarious in their position right now as we look on board with Salamander in P12, who has Shaggy Doo just in front, and he's all over the back of Deputy Fishtail, Rob.
This battle is absolutely hotting up. P10 through P12 as we jump on board with the Salamander. They make their way down to Brussels. I was looking at the corner names earlier. There's quite some inconsistency in the corner names, but I have managed to whittle them down to what I believe they should be as they make their way up to Pouan, otherwise known as double right in French, of course. But no moves at the moment. The gap is certainly starting to close as Fishtail starts to increase the gap in P10. Shaggy Doo seems to be struggling to keep up, but those tyres are looking worse for weather. As you said just before coming to me, Shaggy Doo's tyres look even worse. Fishtail's tyres, yeah, the tyre wear is starting to take effect. And the one thing that I have been noticing, guys, is the weather is starting to look a little bit grey.
Yes, I mean, TK, so have you got any experience around this circuit? And I'm sure you know that around a track like Spa, weather can change in an instant, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's deep in the forest. This track, it's literally in the forest, and it's undulates, and it's a lot like what we saw last week in at the Nürburgring. You know, it can be raining on one section of the track and be clear on the other. And in these cars, this is a flat out track. So much of this track you want to take with your foot all the way to the floor. You throw in moisture in the mix, and all that goes out the window. So if we do start to see some rain, it'll be interesting. It might play in these soft runners' favors, because I'm looking over here at Sneaky as are y'all, and he's on the mediums, and his tires are fine. Everyone else around him is on the soft, so he's looking to go on a long stint. He's moving up. If rain comes into play, that could completely throw off his strategy and help those soft runners.
Yeah, you make a really good point there, actually. Yeah, we are riding on board with Sneaky at the moment. The gap is roughly about 7/10 of a second right now. Guys, actually, this I know that this is going to slightly puzzle me. So I've noticed that the dials are slightly to the side. Is there a reason for that? Is that? Do you think that is them leaning into the corners, and that's why they have the dials slightly sideways?
Like the rev counter dials.
Yeah, does that not look slightly sideways, or is that?
Oh, wait, on the onboard, it's because of how high these things rev. The numbers don't line up, so they had to twist them sideways to get them all revved up.
Fair enough. I just wanted to ask that. I've been told that it redlines at around 12,000 RPM, so that would be the reason. And interesting fact, you know. I just thought I'd.
Yeah, if it wasn't, they wouldn't be able to see it because of the steering wheel. So they have to turn it so that the rev hits. They can see where their rev limiter's at.
Right, okay, fair enough. I just thought it was unusual because I've not seen that before, so. Blyman just going a little bit wide out of the exit there. That would have lost him a little bit of time, and Dirty Tires as well. And Sneaky goes up the inside of him and moves up into P5. Nearly contact there, but just about managing to avoid each other. That was certainly very brave from Sneaky there. Moves up into that P5, and also Blyman is going to be under pressure from Talon in P7. It's certainly when you run wide, them tyres take a while to clean up and get that grip back, and Blyman certainly experienced that there around quite a few corners there, including Brussels and Double Gauche. Looking to plough on with his racing, try and catch up with GLK Sneaky, who as Blyman goes into the pits, from P6. So quite an early pit stop from Blyman. He was on the soft tyres, but actually you can see with Talon's rear tyres, they're almost gone, and Lacabra completely gone. You know, quite surprising to see them still out on track and keeping the car in a straight line as well, Rob.
Yeah, the lap times are starting to come down, as you can see on board with Lacabra doing 51 seems to be the race pace with a prime tyre, but as the tyre has started to drop off, those rears are absolutely red raw. We're into 53s, 54s, and even a 55 on the last lap. The guys are really starting to struggle to get the lap time extracted out of these cars. But as we've seen throughout the season, Flawed, you know, some of these drivers are willing to run the risk of running the dead tyre, losing the lap time, but saving overall race pace. Slipstream as well, with a tiny slither of tyre left on those rears, and also, quite interestingly, almost out of fuel.
Oh, sorry, go on, take Ace.
I was going to say, Blind Man just came out of the pits, and it's over a minute in the pits if you're refueling and getting tires. That was the longest pit stop. He did come out on the soft, so he's going soft.
Yeah, well, I did allude to that fuel saving could be a factor in this race because of the long pit stops. Slipstream actually did take a second out of Mullet's lead, reduced it to 5.5 seconds as Mullet has boxed 4 fresh softs and a full tank of fuel, as Slipstream also comes in from P2 and Gran Turismo from P3, all with very similar amounts of fuel. Actually, Lacabra also in as well from P4. So Sneaky staying out an extra lap. He's quite low on fuel, but he is on the medium tyres, so he's managed to save the tyre wear slightly, of course, on the racing medium tyres. So provisionally on pole position right now. We'll see how much time he gains or loses, really, once he comes in for his pit stop. Moose also up into P2 as well, 9.6 seconds adrift of Sneaky. He is also running the racing medium tyres and also just a tiny amount of fuel, hoping that he will get back to the pits before he runs out of fuel. Certainly, as I can't remember if it was you, Rob, or TK's called the cloud cover. It's certainly starting to look a bit cloudy out there, even foggy, to be honest. So maybe a change of weather on the horizon here, Rob.
Yeah, a change in the weather would absolutely throw a spanner in the works for this race. Just interestingly, looking at the lap delta as we were jumped on board with Sneaky and Moose, they, even though they're on the worn medium tyre, Mullet's back out on the softs, just to note, even though they were on the worn medium tyre and running low on fuel, the lap times were still around the 53-54 mark, which is, you know, no better, no worse than the actual dead racing soft. So strategy really it's going to become quite interesting as this race progresses. We are 22 minutes into this race, 37 minutes remaining of the 1 hour, and I think Sneaky and Moose will have no choice but to box this lap as they come into the chicane, or up towards the chicane is Moose. He's going to have to stop here, guys. Tyres and fuel.
I've got some interesting news, guys. Slipstream put on the intermediate tires.
Ooh.
Slipstream is on the intermediate, so they're expecting some moisture. If it doesn't come, those things are going to get eaten up quick.
They're going to
lose a lot of time as Gran Turismo goes off the track and there's contact.
Oh, and contact.
Contact between Gran Turismo and Slipstream. Slipstream rather unlucky. Blyman getting caught up as well. Lucky not to get tagged in it as Blyman looking to go up the inside. Little bit of wheel banging as well. Slipstream goes wide on the exit, and the Honda in getting collected with Jezza going up the inside of all 3 of the drivers into P8. So we may need to have a look at a replay there, because that was absolute mayhem there. But
Talon,
as we see,
I believe, has run out of fuel.
Going very slow.
Oh,
Talon is
wow.
out of fuel. He's trying to get back to the pits.
He is at the chicane, though.
And there he is.
Chicane, so he will make it back into the pit. absolute insanity here as we jump on board with Gran Turismo as he's making his way through the Campos section towards Stavlo. He runs wide, clips. Oh, Slipstream absolutely nowhere to go. No foul intended, but Slipstream just could not avoid the collision as Dan goes wide into the gravel. Such an unfortunate event, but it does lead them both back into the pits, which means fresh tyres, damage repaired, and strategy completely in the air, guys.
Yeah, indeed. As you said, damage is on heavy for this race, so they would have lost a little bit of time getting it repaired. Very, very unfortunate between the trio there. Nothing, as Rob said, nothing malicious or anything like that. Literally, it was just an accident waiting to happen, unfortunately. But we ride on board with GSR Iron Mullet. He's currently back in the lead of the race. He's currently 8.6 seconds in front of Le Cabra, deciding to go back onto the soft tyres as well. So quite interesting to see here, TKs.
Yeah, and True Serum came out on the intermediates. So Slipstream decided, all right, got the day. No, they are still on the intermediates. So we got two drivers still running on the inters.
Well, remember,
very interesting.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, remember from the semi-finals, of course, Sneaky and Slipstream decided to go on to the intermediates whilst the rest were on the slicks, and you know how that panned out. So we'll see. We'll see if it's the right call this time round. But I will say that Sneaky is on the slicks this time, so perhaps, as it's hard for us commentators to understand truly what's going on out there because we don't have the weather radar, so we can only call it how we see it. And at the moment,
it's looking grey. It is looking grey, Flawed.
Yeah, it is looking grey. But every lap that it doesn't rain, this will be eating away.
Oh, we have an off with the True Serum.
Oh.
He was trying. It looks like he was either trying to enter the pit. No way. Yeah, I think he realized the enters were not the right call.
Oh,
and needs to go back in.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I was just about to allude to this, that he's not going to have the grip. Them intermediates would have been burning up very quickly every lap that the track is dry. And yeah, Shaggy Doo getting a little bit caught there. But actually, the Truth Serum was the one actually to lose out massively, and now gone into the pits along with Slipstream as well, P10 and P11 respectively, and that is costly, unfortunate for the pair of them.
And Salamander's on the intermediates as well, so they must be seeing something on the radar indicating that rain's coming, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, maybe the wind direction just pushing the weather system close to the track but not on the track. And as we was alluding to, being the track in the forest, it's a very difficult one to call. It could absolutely hammer it down with rain, and sometimes it bypasses the track completely, and that seems to be the case so far. As we ride on board with Moose, who currently finds himself in P5. He is 1 second adrift of Sneaky in P4, and actually pretty close to Blyman, also in P3 as we come down the straight approaching El Rouge. And to be honest, the top 5 have pulled away from the rest of the grid, as Deputy Fishtail is 24 seconds adrift of Moose in P6. So the race starting to shape up a little bit, Rob.
Yeah, just looking at some of the strategies that are in play. Obviously, Mullet, Le Cabra front, both on starting on the soft. Actually, we jump on board with Talon. Looks like he's going to try and make a move around the outside of Jesse. They move towards Paul Frere and then on towards Blanchimont turn 17. Looked like there was going to be a potential move on the fresh racing soft. Is the Talon the gap? He's 0.5 of a second at the moment as they make their way up towards Le Chicane. No move at the moment, but yeah, as I was going to say, the tyre strategies are really starting to come to life, if you like. Moose particularly and Sneaky the two of the medium runners. Obviously, we had that little bit of collision just before the pit stops, but they made many places just from having that medium going that little bit extra couple of laps, making the fuel count and getting the most out of those tyres. Sneaky back on another set of mediums, whereas Moose back on a set his top. Are we going to see Talon make a move into Lacombe here? He's got an excellent run and an excellent slipstream, pulls to the right hand side. Not going to get it this time.
Oh,
he does. Wow!
With the swisheroo into the chicane. Wow.
Fantastic from Talon. He anticipated what Jezza was going to do there and cut back on him and made the Moose stick. That was fantastic from Talon there as we look on board with Moose now, because things are starting to heat up a little bit in this race. We are coming to the halfway mark of this Division A final, and currently finds himself just 8 tenths behind Sneaky in P4. And I have to say, so far for Moose, this race has been excellent for him. Of course, he started from P12, so he's made up 7 positions in this race, and really looking to grab an excellent result here, maybe even a podium, because he is literally only 2 seconds adrift from Blyman, who currently occupies the last step on the podium. So yeah, this is definitely shaping up to be a very intense last half of this race, and yeah, Moose looking to apply that pressure to Sneaky as we go through the double gauche there. And I've forgotten the name of this turn here. Is it Campus? I was going to say Blanchimont, but it might be Campus. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the ever ongoing debate of the Spa corner names. Quite often get mixed up and mashed around, and Campus moves from turn 14 to turn 15 and back to turn 14. It's I don't think anybody actually knows which one is which. I did have a little bit of a rundown of the corners at Spa. Obviously, the source turn number 1 on the GP track. Obviously, we are on the 24-hour track, but the guys, as currently speaking, on board with Moose, he's making his way up to turn 1, which is La Source. Gran Turismo.
Hey guys, La Cabra and I'm Mullet are running into lap traffic here. So we're starting to see some cars getting lapped, and that's going to be interesting. You know, are we having some blue flags where they need to get out of the way, or is everybody just going to keep racing?
Well, I would imagine they would have to abide to the blue flags, but do you know what? I didn't even consider this, to be honest. You know, in these cars, they do make Spa actually a lot shorter than it actually is, because of the, you know, the high speeds and the high downforce that these cars have. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if traffic plays a part in this race, as we are on board at the moment with Gran Turismo, who I really didn't expect to see him in this position right now. Of course, got caught up in, or unluckily got caught up in the melee a few laps ago, but looking to hound down Shaggy Doo, who is in P7 in a bit of a sitting duck. Can Gran Turismo make the move before the corner? He decides not to go for it for the time being. Oh no, he does! He does! And we might have to look at a replay. Didn't get the best of angles there. It looked like Shaggy Doo didn't really take it properly. Gran Turismo should be on the inside and take that P7 away from Shaggy Doo. Shaggy Doo has got to defend on the outside, and yeah, unfortunately he's not going to be able to defend it, and Gran Turismo does take that P7. It did seem like Shaggy Doo had he just missed the initial move, but yeah, regardless, the move was done, and yeah, I was going to say Shaggy Doo. It looked like he could have easily defended that, but it looked like he got on the brakes a little bit too much. And Gran Turismo took full advantage and has moved up into P7. We do ride on board though with Moose, because I think this battle is going to go right to the very death, because Moose is still only 1 second behind GLK Sneaky, and I think Sneaky is even closer to the back of Blyman in P3. So things could get very tasty indeed in the last 26 minutes of this 1 hour race at Spa. What are your thoughts, Rob?
I'm just thinking the intermediate tyre was definitely a gamble, in my opinion, based on the weather conditions. It did look like it was getting quite grey out there, but as you can see now, nothing but clear skies, well, semi-clear skies and sunshine, which is, a massive risk on the intermediates. Hasn't paid off for those guys, whereas up front, the soft runners, the early medium runners seem to be doing the best so far on strategy. Mullet well out in the lead, 6.1. Lacabra moving up in P2, trying to close the gap and doing so bit by bit, but he's going to come up to some traffic just coming up. And yes, just to reference chat, unfortunately in the spectator mode, it does quite often come up that the guys are out of fuel. We can assure you they are not. It is a bit of a bug in the spectator mode on GT7. Hopefully they'll fix that one shortly for us commentators.
Yes, and also I believe that none of the drivers are driving automatic as well, as you can see it prompted by the gears there. So, but yeah, in terms of strategies, TK, is there anything to update us on, or is it looking...
It's all settled in. Unfortunately, Salamander was one who took a Campbell on the intermediates, and he just had to take another pit stop to switch back to the softs. I was just watching Mullet finally get past some last traffic, and it didn't look like anybody was making any efforts to get out of the way. Mullet had to make a pretty aggressive pass on Jesser to clear that lap traffic. So I haven't seen any blue flags on the side, so I think these guys are racing and trying to hold position best they can.
I mean, that does surprise me. However, you know, maybe the drivers are tinkering away with the fuel map. You know, maybe with the driver views that they're using, they don't have like this mirror, for example, that we can see right now, which normally with the roof cam, isn't it? Doesn't have the mirror on top, and if you haven't got your radar on either, then it's very hard to spot where the driver behind is. Of course, you know, because Mullet, for example, leading the race, not necessarily going to come up on the leaderboards, is he? So, lapping traffic. So, yeah, I mean, it is still the responsibility of the driver being lapped to let through the leaders that are lapping him. But I can kind of understand why some of these problems can happen. But we do ride on board with Sneaky at the moment, currently on P4 as we go around the bus stop chicane to finish lap 19 and onto lap 20, as we've got 23 minutes left of this 1 hour race at Spa, and it is pretty much the same as before. It's roughly about half a second a gap between Blyman and Sneaky, but Sneaky will have the slipstream as we go down the hill and up El Rouge, and certainly that slipstream will pull him along to be a little bit closer as we get into the corner. It looks like Moose has dropped off a little bit though in P5, but yeah, certainly a really big battle brewing for P3 right now. Yeah, Sneaky's got very, very close to the back of Blyman, maybe sniffing some rewards here, Rob.
Yeah, that gap has been coming down quite significantly over the last couple of laps. The tyres on Sneaky's car looking quite in quite good condition as well. Went for the medium option. I'm wondering whether Moose going for the medium soft option. That soft tyre is starting to fall away, but Sneaky definitely on a charge and definitely wants that spot, last spot on that podium. Can he keep the pressure up? I'm pretty sure he can.
Yeah, Sneaky keeps a very cool head, very level-headed driver, and usually sticks to his guns. And I think you're right. I think that medium is he's favoring that tire. He's setting, purple sectors. His lap time isn't that much slower than the soft runners. So having this extra grip and quite a bit more fuel as well will allow him to go longer on this stint.
Indeed. I mean, this is certainly crunch time for the drivers now, isn't it? This is the business end. This is where they really do need to make every move count. And yeah, it looks like Sneaky, if he can get a good run out of La Source, which he does. It looked like Blyman didn't get the best of exits there. It is 4.5 temps and coming down as we go up El Rouge here then on lap 21. Can he close in on Blyman before we get to Lacombe and Melmody? It's not looking likely, but he is closing that gap all the same. He may have to wait until he gets to another straight, was it the Paul Ferrer and Blanchemont, to maybe make his next move. But meanwhile, Moose is starting to close in on Sneaky. He's down to under a second now.
And if these guys can be patient and work together a little bit, LeCabre's running into some more lap traffic. He's not too far ahead. If they can not slow each other down, they might have an opportunity to catch up to LeCabre for P2.
Yes, indeed. I mean, you can see with LeCabre. Oh,
there we go. Jester does get out of the way there.
He does in the nick of time there. Had us worried there, but yeah, LeCabre does safely get through to overtake him. You know, obviously in P2 at the moment, finds himself 7.8 seconds behind Munya, who's just come into pits. Come into the pits, should I say, from P1. He had pretty dead tyres. I would imagine LeCabre doing the same. Yes, he does, yes, with 1% of fuel as well. So just in the nick of time. Blyman, will he come in? Yes, he does.
Blyman's in. Oh, but he hits the wall.
Oh.
I wonder if that's going to result in any type of penalty.
You could be right there. You could be right. And maybe more importantly, did he actually get damage from that as well?
That we will see. And also Moose has jumped into the pit.
Indeed, he did get damage to the front bumper for Blyman. So that's going to cost him a few seconds there. Costly ever from Blyman. Is that could mean, you know, could mean everything for that final podium position. We'll have to wait and see, as quite a lot of the drivers are coming in now. Gran Turismo also coming in now as well. So yeah, the top 7 the top 7, apart from Sneaky, coming in to change their soft tyres. We'll see what tyres they go back out on, but I suspect it will be soft tyres again though, Rob.
There's still 18 minutes on the clock, so we are well into the last third of the race. It's the medium of Sneaky, still currently the favourite. He's still out on track, so he'll be able to box for softs and a little bit of fuel to end the race. But the soft runners, current soft runners, I assume they will be back out on the soft to do the triple soft double stop. And just fuel enough just to the end of the race. But at the moment it is Sneaky out in front. Lap 22, 18 minutes remaining, 35 seconds to the good. There's a strategy call to be made here, folks, and just Sneaky box for some soft tyres.
Well, one thing's for certain, he is definitely going to have to box because he's got less than a quarter of a tank, hasn't he? So, I mean, if it was me personally, I think I would be boxing now for them soft tyres. He has decided to stay out. So,
and y'all, Blind Man ended up with a 3-second penalty for pit lane.
Oh God,
that'll be Moose into P4.
Indeed. And Moose, certainly the big mover in the grid today. Started on P12, now finds himself 8 positions up into
and
P4.
Back out on the mediums, guys.
Okay, so maybe wasn't feeling too confident that the soft tyres were going to last for the rest of the race. Also, what we have to consider here as well, guys, is where they are in relation to the leader, isn't it? So they've got 17 minutes left of the race, but they have to finish there is a chance if they come across the line, you know, a few seconds left of the countdown, they'll have to do an extra lap. So maybe it's a smart move from Moose here. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, just coming across the line now, he has 16.5 minutes left of the race. They're lapping at 1 minute 50. I'm not that great at maths, guys, so I'm calculating in my head where he'll be at the end of that countdown. But maybe we've been told it's roughly about 8 or 9 laps, so that extra lap could pay dividends here. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, certainly Sneaky has got that 35-second lead over Mullet, but Sneaky yet to make that pit stop, and we know that they spend at least a minute from the entrance of the pit lane to the exit. So certainly Mullet will claim the lead of the race once again when Sneaky does pit. It just depends on where Sneaky comes out in relation to Le Cabre, Moose and Blyman, but I'm sure we will find out very, very shortly as we're on board with Mullet as we speak. He's on the soft tyres, he's got 3/4 of a tank. That should get him through to the end of the race, shouldn't it, Rob?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. He will not want to be stopping again, so I think deliberately he hasn't filled the tank to the brim. So it's a calculated fuel from Mullet. I think he's got his strategy worked out to perfection, triple soft tyres, and I think he's fueled to the end of the race. The one that we need to watch in terms of strategy, Sneaky on the mediums, we still need to stop. We know he's on the mediums. This is the one that I'm really excited to look at. Sneaky going a little bit longer on the mediums, but Moose is out on track on fresh mediums. We know Sneaky needs to stop. As you said, that pit window is in and around the 1 minute mark. If Moose can get a couple of real good laps, that undercut could become quite powerful. And this is for the last spot of the podium, folks. This is important for the guys.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, as we mentioned before the start of this race, actually it's the top 7 that receive some sort of prize money, but obviously the higher up they are, the more money that that is at stake for the drivers. So there'll be a big difference between P4 and P3, that is for certain. And if Moose can get that podium, I'm sure that will mean the absolute world to him. So I'm sure in the next lap or two, we will find out exactly what position Moose will be once Sneaky makes that pit stop, as he does come in. He does come in.
He's got to get fuel.
That gap is 103, so this is crucial now, folks. This is absolutely crucial. Sneaky will not need a full tank of fuel. He'll only need to fuel for 13, 14 minutes or so. So 7 or 8 laps of fuel required. I would take a little bit extra in case you do roll over to that extra lap. But this gap is the one that we need to keep our eye on, because this is for P3 and that last spot of that podium. Moose, I must say, has drove an impeccable race so far. Opted for the medium strategy. Got plenty of fuel for the rest of the race, and doing a fantastic job, starting all the way back in P12, I believe, Floyd.
Indeed, yeah. He's as I said, the biggest mover in the grid today, doing an absolute fantastic job, and he has been Mr. Consistent throughout the whole season as well. He's picked up many podiums. I believe it's probably, I think it was 3 podiums, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. Might have to look close to my notes.
On pit exit.
Yep.
But Sneaky,
I'm Mullet and Le Cabre have both passed Sneaky while he was in the pits. Sneaky put on the softs and got about 2/3 a tank of fuel.
Well, yeah, Sneaky just out on track now. So in relation to Moose, we're just trying to find out where Sneaky...
Moose is just through radio.
Yeah, Sneaky looks like he got out quite a bit in front of him. Moose does have the overspeed, but it is going to be still about 8 seconds, the gap between the pair of them. So Sneaky is on the soft tyres, so certainly in a strong position now. Of course, we're not going to call it here and say, well, that's it. Sneaky definitely going to have P3, because we know in an instant things can develop and change, very, very quickly around this circuit. But certainly that is your top 3 at the moment. I'm Mullet P1, Le Cabre P2, Sneaky in P3, and for Moose's sake, he'll just have to push as much as he can and hope there'll be a mistake from the top three. But Slipstream, we're looking on board at the moment. He was one of the favourites going into this race. Finds himself in P13 and probably regretting a couple of the decisions he made in this race. And yeah, finds himself in P13 just behind MD Hop, although Salamander is into the pits and sinking as well. So it does look like oh no, Salamander just out on track now, but MD Hop and Slipstream getting in front of him, leapfrogging him a position. So P11 for MD Hop, P12 for Slipstream, Salamander down into P13. So this is certainly purple sector for Slipstream, as Rob just said. This is certainly for pride more than anything, and Slipstream will want to grab that P11 away from MD Hop as MD Hop defends the inside line. Slipstream's going to have to be a little bit more patient for the time being, but certainly a man with pace and the fastest man on the what happened there from MD Hop?
Is that maybe a misshift? I'm not sure, but he seemed to lose a lot of pace going through Puon. Is he going to make a move up the inside? He's coming back at him. He's trying to get that position back. Maybe a misshift there through that sector, but he did seem to.
We're going to have a look at the replay now, but yeah, it looked. I thought he got hard on the brakes for whatever reason, but yeah, it could be. It didn't look like a miss. I'm not sure what happened there, guys.
It looked like he just didn't get the car rotated quite as much as he would have liked. Maybe he missed his turn-in point, so he just had to get a little bit harder on the brakes as to not run wide there. Because if you run wide there, it's so dangerous. So he had to slow down a little bit more, get that car rotated, and it opened the door.
It certainly was a little bit weird, and of course, the subtle inputs in these types of cars. It's very noticeable, of course, because these are, very high downforce, high speed cars capable of over 200 miles an hour. So, it was a weird moment there, but yeah, perhaps you're right. Maybe he was running a little bit wide and maybe had to slow it down to get the car rotated into the corner. Nevertheless, he lost out on the position there. Slipstream went up into P11. But we're riding on board with Blyman at the moment. Currently top 5 position for him.
On an absolute charge as well, Floyd. Personal best 151. He's trying to close that gap to Moose.
Indeed, yes, indeed. 151.354. 1 second is the gap between himself and Moose. He's going to have that slipstream and that overspeed as we go up the hill through El Rouge now and onto the Kemmel Straight. And yeah, Moose hopefully not feeling the pressure right now. And also you do have to consider as well that Moose is on the racing medium tyres as opposed to Blyman on the soft tyres, I believe. So a big tyre difference between the two drivers. Can Moose hold off Blyman in the last 8 minutes of this Division A race? We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, certainly Blyman looking good, and Moose will have to make his car as wide as possible and try to defend from Blyman. But yeah, Rob, do you think Moose may be a bit of a sitting duck here?
This is going to be tricky to defend the soft tyre. The weather is good, it's dry out on track. The tyres look reasonably fresh on Blyman's car, and that gap has come down quite significantly over the last few laps. If you can hold off, you can hold and defend for a few more laps, maybe a possibility. As you can see on the Delta data at the bottom of your screen, those rear tyres are just coming up to their 50% wear, and they do start to lose a significant amount of lap time sort of after that point. It was a 151.3 last time round, personal best for Blyman GT, and this time round will be a 152.4, so already the lap time is falling away. Oh, very close in the source there. Moose, however, though, in the medium tyre, he will have plenty. 2 second penalty for Blyman. There was contact.
Indeed, yes, Rob. Yeah, unfortunate for Blyman. A little bit unlucky. He thought about going up the inside. It looked like maybe there was a tiny bit of contact. The game deemed that he deserved a 2-second penalty from it. A little bit harsh in my opinion, but nevertheless, he's going to have to serve that 2-second penalty on this lap. Is that going to be curtains for his chance of grabbing Moose's position? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, certainly them soft tyres will be dying in the closing stages of this race. So the odds are against him as we ride on board with I'm Mullet, who is in a very commanding lead at the top of the grid. 9.6 seconds is the gap between himself and Macabre in P2. He's looking really good for his win here, looking very composed and consistent out there. You know, what are your thoughts here, T-Case?
I mean, the consistency is key. We got other drivers out here. Slipstream actually just set the fastest lap. Not that it matters much back in P11, but you know, being quick is one thing. Being consistent, that is key. And we saw that in the first race today, and we're seeing it again here with Mullet.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, Mullet showing true brilliance out there, to be honest, showing exactly how to drive these 1980s Formula cars, of course. Yeah, looking really good for the race winners. We're 5 minutes away from celebrating the champion of Season 3 in the NRL as we look on board with GLK Sneaky. Currently finds himself in P3, goes purple as well in Sector 1, so looking rather strong in these closing stages. He finds himself 4.5 seconds adrift of Macabre in P2, but comfortably 16.5 seconds in front of Moose. So he's made like 8 seconds from when he made the pit stop from Moose. Of course, he's on them soft tyres, so looking rather strong. But
we've got a battle for P6 going on right now. Gran Turismo has been closing the gap on Deputy Fishtail. They go up Eau Rouge. It was over a second when they started this lap, and now it's down to under a second. So I think we're going to have a tight battle here to finish the race for P6.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's just under a second and closing fast as well, isn't it? So Dan Turismo, we know, is a very, very fast driver, and perhaps found himself a little bit unlucky to be further down the grid. But he has got that all-important P7, of course, for prize money. But looking to go one better and try and steal that P6 away from Deputy Fishtail as the gap closes down to about half a second now. So perhaps by the bus stop chicane at the end of lap 29, maybe we'll see a move made on Deputy Fishtail here. But very important to keep it on the track and not push too hard as we approach the sort of the last straight of the lap. Look like Deputy Fishtail got a good exit out of Paul Ferrer though, so we'll see if he does make the move or not. We have also got a battle going on for P8 and P9 in Shaggy Doo and Talon. So we're riding on board with Talon. He is just under a second behind Shaggy Doo. And again, we're coming up to the back end of lap 29 then as we go on this full speed right-hander and left-hander in Blanchemont. And I don't think he's going to catch up in time by the time we get to the bus stop chicane, but certainly that gap has closed down to just about 7/10 of a second. Looking at Deputy Fishtail and Dan Turismo, looks like Dan Turismo has lost a bit of time though to P6.
Well, he did. He came out of the final chicane and got on the throttle too quickly and lost control. He kept it on the track, but he lost a good bit of time coming out of the final chicane.
Okay, well, interesting. Well, I can see that the countdown clock, we are down to the last 2 minutes, so it does look like we're going to have at least one more lap between the drivers then.
Wow.
And just as production just told us in our ear, that the gap between Lacabra and Sneaky has come down quite considerably and now down to under 2 seconds. Yes, Lacabra going a bit wide, Sneaky going a little bit wide as well, but it is 1.4 seconds now, and fast approaching slipstream ranges. We've got Jezza caught in a bit of a sandwich between Sneaky and Lacabra, but can Sneaky use that to his advantage as they go up the hill? Jezza going a little bit left and right there, but Sneaky managing to negotiate his way through, and also goes 2 tenths purple through sector 1 as well as he looks to chase down Lacabra now, as the gap is now just under a second now. So all sorts of drama, which could well be the last lap here. We will see. It's going to be very close, actually, whether or not this is last lap or not. I think there might even be one more lap. I'm not sure, but it's certainly going to be close. But certainly very intense, and let's hope for Lacabra's sake that he doesn't cave to this pressure, because I'm pretty sure he'll be looking hard in them mirrors and making sure that Sneaky does stay behind him as we get into the closing stages of this race, Rob.
Oh, he's coming, Floyd. Sneaky is on an absolute charge. That gap, little over 5 laps ago, was nearly 4 seconds. It is now 2 tenths as they make their way up to Blanchimont. The run is good. The gap is closing through the little flick of the left-hander through into turn. He's going to look. No, he's going to wait. He's going to wait. He's going to look around the outside. We jink left. We jink right. He's into the grass. Oh, he's managed to get out. On earth has he saved that? But he's saved. Wow! And
this is the last lap as well. This is the last lap as well. So Lacabra will come across the line in P2 and Sneaky for P3 as well. So right at the death, there was big drama, but that does mean that Mullet will become the champion of Season 3 in the NRL. Congratulations to Iron Mullet, and back-to-back championships as well at that. In the NRL, of course, defending champion from Season 2. So fantastic drive there from GSR, Iron Mullet, and of course Lacabra and Sneaky providing us the big drama in the closing seconds of this race. But yeah, the driver's just about to come across the line now, with Moose coming across the line with P4 for him, Blind Man P5 for him.
Trying for Deputy Fishtail.
Oh, a little bit sideways though. Deputy Fishtail's just going to finish in front of Dan Turismo to hold off for that P6, and in fact run out of fuel just before the line for Dan Turismo in P7. Then we've got the Truth Serum all on his own, should claim this P8, you know, barring any mistakes, of course, although looking very low on fuel, actually. I think he may just about have enough, I'm not sure.
He's going to limp across.
I think he's run out, and Slipstream, I don't know if he's going to be close enough. It's tumbling down their Slipstream now, but oh my God, the True Serum just about finishes in front of Slipstream, who finishes in P9, with Shaggy Doo rounding up the top 10, and Salamander a bit sideways, actually, and has he lost lost some positions, yeah.
I think Salamander's just banging his head off the wall.
Looked like he's going to come across the line for P11, but actually got that place taken away as he just hit the wall there. But congratulations to GSR Iron Mullet, Season 3 champion in the NRL. Fantastic drive throughout the season, fully deserved. And wow, guys, absolute emotional race there. What are your thoughts there, Rob?
Wow, absolute insane racing up and down the grid. Mullet with what can only be called a flawless drive. Just put this into perspective, folks. He started the race in P2. He got the move done on lap 1 to P1 at the bottom of Eau Rouge, climbed the hills of Radion, gained the position over Lacabra, started P1, and then from there on out, flawless victory, a flawless race, time to perfection, strategy, point on point, and a well-deserved NRL Division A championship.
Yeah, certainly never look back there. I'm just going to quickly run you through the results and then get the thoughts from T-Case. But I Mullet, well, we'll call it provisional, but certainly our champion of season 3. Congratulations to him with Le Cabra finishing in P2. Then we had Sneaky on the last step on the podium in P3 with that excellent race right to the death between Le Cabra and Sneaky, of course. Then in P4 is Moose, who moved up 8 positions from the initial grid start. So a fantastic finish for Moose. And then top 5 is Blyman GT. Another fantastic performance from him, with Deputy Fishtail just finishing in front of Dan Turismo to secure that P6. Dan Turismo in P7. And then we had The Truth Serum in P8. P9 went to Slipstream, who actually was the fastest man on the circuit towards the end there, with the fastest lap time of 1 minute 50.176. Finishes just in front of Shaggy Doo in P10. Then we had MD Hop in P11. I mean, a little bit fortuitously, I'm not sure what Salamander was doing at the end there, but MD Hop grabs that P11 away from Salamander, who gets a P12. Then Talon gets P13, and Jezza gets P14. I forgot to mention as well, the top 7 drivers receive prize money for finishing in the top 7. So congratulations to them drivers. We will await the drivers to get into the interview room so that we can interview the podium finishers there. But yeah, TK, your thoughts on that final race?
Oh, fantastic. I wanted to do Spa. I'm so happy I got to be here for Spa, because Spa delivers every time, and especially in high downforce cars. It's a true racetrack designed for race cars, and we got to see it here. It was fun getting to see the lap traffic come into effect, slipstreams, different strategies. I thought it was interesting. Only a couple drivers were really able to make those medium tires work, and they made them work really, really well. Sneaky and Moose starting way in the back on those mediums and ending up P3 and P4. So it was fun to see those strategies play out. It was fun to see some people take gambles on the intermediates when they saw some weather looming in the distance. And unfortunately for them, it didn't play out, but that's part of racing. You got to use what you have, and sometimes you make the right call, sometimes you make the wrong call.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there, T-Case. We do have the podium finishers in the interview room now. So, Rob, can you lead us away to the questions for the drivers, please? Starting off with Sneaky, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Sneaky, welcome in. What a race. What a start. Interesting strategy starting on the medium tyres. Talk us through your race. How are you feeling, sir? P3 at the end of the race.
I'm pretty stoked. I mean, I started at the back. I'm excited, man. I'm still out of breath. That was very intense. But no, I was like, basically my whole process was, I knew everybody was going to be on the softs, and I knew the softs was a better race tire, but I was starting from the back, and I just knew that I had to take a different strategy than everybody else. So I just worked on the mediums the whole week, and I got to a pretty good pace. I think during the race I was running 51s, I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, I think it worked out, and staying out a couple extra laps as we saw kind of paid off, because there was some traffic and some collisions that I managed to avoid.
Yeah, the strategy was evidently a good one for yourself. As you said, you started at the back, played for the medium onto the second set of mediums. Moose did a very similar strategy. You were in quite a battle with Moose for some time. Moose opting for the soft tyre on his second stint, and that gap seemed to open up. I just want to really quickly talk, last question from myself, and I'll pass you on. Towards the end of that race there, the P2 was closing and closing and closing, and it looked forever and a day like it was going to happen. Did you think it was there, or was it always just about just persevering? Because a phenomenal race-saving catch towards the end?
I mean, I want to say a big shout out to my engineer Hako. You know, he was in my ear the whole race, and you know, we initially, when we came out and I was 7 seconds behind, he just told me like not to worry about trying to catch him and just focus on my race. And I had P3 in the bag, and then as it went on, he started looming in like, oh, that P2 is possible. And you know, I was pretty close. I managed to say that. I was pretty happy. I thought there was a door and maybe it was closed, or maybe there just wasn't a door, to be honest. But yeah, no, I'm still happy about P3.
Yeah, incredible job, sir. Massive congratulations from me. And if there was a better person you could have in your ear all as you take on a race like this, it's Hawko. So yeah, great race engineer himself. Flawed, any questions from yourself?
Yes, I do. And yeah, congratulations, Sneaky, on P3. Absolute fantastic race from you. I do agree with Rob. You know, Hawko is probably the best guidance that you could possibly have. I mean, the absolute madman. He thinks of everything, that guy. But yeah, I mean, happy with P3. I mean, what was your expectations going into this race?
Man, to be honest, like I didn't want to die on the first lap, and then that was my main goal. Honestly, I just wanted to be able to at least be in the battle for any position, to be honest. And I knew that starting from the back on the mediums, you know, probably I was worried that it may have like been just get swallowed by everybody who was around me that was on soft. But I managed to. I don't even know how I got to P6 after that first lap, but I managed to, and then I was just able to stick with everybody, which I think helped me out.
Yeah, certainly did. You certainly did. It was the right call. In terms of actual tires, actually, so we did notice a couple of drivers go onto the intermediate tires. Of course, we don't get to see the weather radar. So was it sort of touch and go whether or not, you know, to stay on the slicks or? Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I mean, I don't. It was never intermediate weather. You know, you could see, and I mean, I could see a gamble where you saw the rain and you knew you had to pit on soft and just take that gamble and hope that it pays out. But I was able to stay out longer and watch that rain unfold, and it just was not going to go away. It was going to go away. It wasn't going to hit the track. Sorry.
Well, yes, because we was a little bit surprised because, of course, referring to the semi-final, it was yourself and Slipstream that went on to the intermediates. Well, this time Slipstream went on to the intermediates, so I almost expected you to pick the same strat, but of course, yeah, you made the right call. The rain didn't come in, and yeah, you was able to not look back and claim that P3. So excellent job from you, Sneaky. And T-Case, have you got any questions for our third position driver?
Yes, Sneaky, congratulations, man. You know, we go way back in the early seasons of NRL. So great job. I know we've chatted a few times, and you weren't so confident that you were even going to make the finals. I know you had to miss a race. So much going in. You end up finishing P3, and you were leading the race for part of the race. Tell me about that final pit stop, having to refuel, knowing Mullet and La Cabra were coming through.
I mean, I knew. To be honest, I was more worried that Moose would have jumped me, and I thought it would have been a repeat of what happened with me and him in the second stint, where he was on soft and he was on a lighter fuel load, but couldn't get past me. But then when I came out and I was ahead of him, I was relieved, and I just figured I got to make sure that I just stay alive through this race.
Fantastic, Sneaky. Congratulations on P3. Well done. And awesome. Enjoy yourself.
Will do. Thank you, guys, and thanks, Nagati, for this league. It's amazing.
Yeah, congrats, Sneaky.
Yeah, incredible. Congratulations, Sneaky. Go and celebrate your P3 as we bring in P2 podium spot for this evening. It is, of course, GSR La Cabra. How are you doing, sir? How is your race talk us through it. We got a reasonable start, but Mullet seemed to get the slip and get that P1 early in the race. Talk to me through your race from then on.
Yeah, it was just do the same game plan. I was expecting to lose a position at the start just because the slipstream was so strong at the beginning, and it happened. So I just stuck to the plan and just execute.
Yeah, you did a fantastic job of it, and congratulations on your P2. I'm going to hand you over to TK. Any questions from you, sir?
Yeah, LaCabra, I mean, again, great job. I know you're a great racer. You're always up at the top. Going into the start of this season, were you expecting to finish this high?
Yeah, because I know how much I've improved since the last 2 seasons, and based on my skill that I think I have at the moment, I felt like a win was possible, and a podium was the mission.
Awesome, man. Well done. Great job on P2. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And also, I was going to add, so obviously you lost the lead to Mullet. So was you disappointed you couldn't catch up with him, or I mean, it looked like Mullet had some insane pace there. I was going to ask you, to be honest, like, did you think about changing up strategies, or did you feel confident enough that the strategy you practiced was going to see you right through to the end?
Yes, I actually ended up switching the original strategy I had. The plan was to do 4 stints of sauce, but when the rain showed up, I wasn't sure if it was gonna hit or not, and that completely made me have to do a judgment call. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so even though I wasn't comfortable with the strategy, I felt like I was good enough to just adjust it on the fly and make it work, and it did. As soon as that happened, I felt like the P1 was gonna be possible only if Mullet made a big mistake. So, but I'm happy that he did, and I'm happy that we got the 1-2 amazing race.
Yes, indeed, because you're both in the same team. Yeah, congratulations. It was a great performance from you. Excellent P2 from you. Fantastic performance from you. And enjoy your P2.
Thanks, bro. And I want to thank you guys, all of you, also the other commentators, the stewards, Magnolia as well. And of course, thank you to Mullet for helping me practice throughout all the season. And thank you to Distinct Simon that helped me a lot with this combo for the final. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, LaCabra.
Yeah, mega job from GSR LaCabra there with the P2. Been fantastic all season, but it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to bring in our Season 3 race winner of the evening and Season 3 champion of the NRL. It is the one and only GSR Mullet. Welcome in, sir. Congratulations. P1, talk us through that race.
Omaha. Thanks. Hold on one second. Things are going weird. All right, how's this sound? Does this sound better?
Yeah.
We can hear you loud and clear anyway, but
okay.
Rob?
Yeah, talk us through fantastic. Congratulations. First of all, congratulations, P1 winner of the race this evening and overall winner for Season 3. Please just talk us through that race. Early move into P1, and it looked like you were just on a Sunday drive.
I seen that I had to jump right off at the start. I didn't even have to like slipstream. I was just already side by side going through like Eau Rouge, and I was just kind of hoping that nobody behind myself had like a bigger run, because like Don was saying, it was just the slipstream was massive. So like really the big worry was T1.
It was a fantastic performance, sir, and many congratulations from myself and the team for the P1. Flawed, any questions for our Season 3 champion?
Indeed, yes. Congratulations, Malik. That was absolute astonishing performance from yourself. You literally, as you said, you took the lead and you never looked back, and it seemed like you was full of confidence today. So I sort of asked the same question to our P3, where we wasn't sure if the rain was going to come in or not. Was there a moment in your mind that I'm going to have to really change up the strategy, or was you confident that the rain was going to stay away and that your strategy was strong?
At first, I thought the rain was gonna hit. It looked like it was gonna, like, I think lap 10. I was looking at the radar, and that's when like there was like a blotch of blue there, and it was like coming up northeast. But I don't know what happened, but the wind started going crazy. It was all the way up to like 27 feet per second at one point, and it just like every weather slot just ended up starting going southeast. So it ended up missing us completely. So I mean, after I seen it moving, like I was in the chat with Dom, I was like, dude, no weather.
Well, you did an absolute fantastic job. Fully deserve your race win. Back-to-back champion as well, the NRL, which is some feat. So congratulations, mate. And TKs, have you got a final question for Mullet? Race winner?
Mullet, man, fantastic. Again, champion NRL, back-to-back. Well done. I did want to ask, I mean, you were up there kind of all by yourself, but you started running into some lap traffic. What was that like? Did you have anybody hold you up, or was it pretty clean as far as getting through the lap traffic?
I guess both guys, besides Slipstream, like I knew he was on low fuel, so I didn't worry about Slipstream. As soon as he came out in front of me, I was like, I'm just letting him. At that point, I'm coasting. He could push, get fast to slap, so I that was fine. But I did get held up a little bit by Gesture and MD Hop at the end, but I was basically maintaining pace and just, focusing on the gap behind me and trying to see exactly what lap I was going to finish.
Awesome, man. Well, I mean, congratulations. You did a fantastic job this season. Great job.
Thank you. Omaha, Omaha.
Omaha.
Omaha, Mallet. Omaha. Thank you, and congratulations to the podium finishers. Again, big congratulations to Mallet for the race win and Season 3 champion as well. Hopefully, Mallet, you'll be drinking some sort of champagne or a beer or something. I don't know.
I don't drink, a sober guy, but big shout out to all boys, the GSR community, original GSR himself, like big shout out to all those guys. That's all I got. Omaha, see you later, chat. See you later, McNaughty. Great job on the league, the presentation, beautiful stuff. Good job to the commentators.
Thank you, man. Take care of yourself.
Take care.
All right, so as I said, congratulations to everyone in the final, to the top 7 that will receive some sort of prize, and of course the podium finishers in the interview room with Mullet, Season 3 champion, of course. Joining us from the previous finals, I'm delighted to have amongst us Toon and Slow-Mo. How are you guys?
Not so bad, Flawed. That was an intense race we saw from both Division B and Division A. We had a terrific day of racing, and it's been an honor and a privilege to be a part of this league. We've had surprises all over the place. I do also want to say congratulations to all of you here in the booth with me, and to our hardworking stewards and production assistants. every single one of you did an amazing job this season and helped make this season and the league as a whole the best it can be.
Indeed, it's been an absolute pleasure. And Slow-Mo as well. This is the first time I've actually got to speak to you in the commentary booth. How are you feeling? And have you recovered from the Division B final?
Thank you, Fly. Yeah, always happy to spend a little bit of time in the booth. I'm absolutely in awe from today's races. The skill the drivers showed off today during their 1 hour endurance race, it's absolutely astounding. I love a good strategy race. We just witnessed 2 absolute bangers in a row, jam-packed, full of drama. So I'm going to need a minute to catch my breath after today.
Oh, definitely. Well, before you catch your breath, and everyone in the commentary booth, I've got a couple of little questions to ask you guys. I would like to ask, who is your driver of the season, and is there any particular moment that you was, very fond of throughout season 3? This could be a particular battle, great racing move, some sort of drama or a funny moment. Toon, what are your thoughts for season 3?
Well, in terms of driver of the season, I gotta give it to Papa. He bounced back in just magnificent fashion. I'm sorry. And then like one of the moments of the season was him pulling that no stopper on Willow Springs. It was just absolutely mesmerizing to see. Now, Slow-Mo, what are your thoughts? Your driver of the season and like just a standout moment for you.
Yeah, well, I hate to take the easy choice for driver of the season, but mine's going to be Mullet. Awesome season. Congratulations. Going back to back. Obviously, that's the first time we've seen anybody do that. We didn't have season 1 champion defend in season 2. Mullet took on, or in season 3, excuse me, Mullet took on from there. So as far as the best battle, it has to go back to the rally race we had between Le Cabra and Blind Man. Just epic. I've actually gone back and watched that 6 and 7 times since then. That was amazing.
Rob, your thoughts as well? Yeah, sorry,
for me, I'm going to relinquish the season spot because I think everybody has done a phenomenal job this season. But I am going to call upon probably my favourite moment of the season, which of course is when Moose hung up his driving license and picked up his pilot license. Best moment of the season, funniest moment of the season for me.
And T-Case as well, finally to you, mate.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a big shout out to PHG, Papa House of Games, and the paparazzi. I think they've really done a good job of helping spread the word of this league and getting people who may not have wanted to or felt like they could be a part of it because of their skill. He encouraged a lot of people to just do it, hop in, you're gonna get better. And a lot of people did, and we saw that as PHG started popping up to a lot of people's names. And as far as my favorite moment, I got to go back to that same race you alluded to there, Rob. But when Sneaky did his pit stop at his second pit stop at the Nürburgring and put on the intermediates by accident, and then ends up winning that race, that was a highlight for me. It was so exciting to see him come out of the pits, and you realize his pace was there, and that going on that second set of intermediates was the right call, and it came right down to the end.
Thank you, T-Case, and thank you guys on your thoughts. Before we go, I just wanted to say on behalf of the whole McNulty's production team, a warm and big thank you to everyone that have supported us throughout this season. This is from everyone spectating the races, everyone interacting in chat, the likes, the subs week in and week out, the sheer kindness from the community donating massive amounts. So thank you. And not just that, but the amount of hard work and dedication from those working behind the scenes in production, the stewards also taking mass amounts of their free time to go through heaps of replays, of course. been an absolute pleasure to work alongside these 5 awesome commentators. Of course, TK, Slowmo, Toon, Rob, and Leo as well, who's not here now, but was present for many of the broadcasts. It's been an absolute pleasure, as I said. Lastly, I got to give a big shout out to McNulty, who I'm sure has been pulling his hair out, trying to perfect the whole series.
Facial hair.
Well, maybe facial hair then, yeah. Leg hair, etc. But I can imagine how stressful it could have been for him, going through all the endless testing, the graphics, the videos, managing us, of course, and still having a big life outside of this as well. So again, big credit to you, McNulty. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Really bringing this awesome community together as one. Big thank you to everyone, and of course McNulty. Toon, your thoughts quickly?
Yeah, thank you indeed, McNaughty. It's been an amazing journey to be a part of, and I can't wait to see how the league grows even further in the future. With all that said, and as Flawed said, thank you all so very much for watching and being a part of this league and this community. We wouldn't be here without each and every one of you. Now, if you want to stay in touch with any of us, you can find me over on Twitch, where I stream a variety of content for all of you to enjoy. You can find Flawed on Twitch as well, where he streams primarily GT7 content. Rob G2 can be found over on Twitch, where he streams a variety of racing content. You can find T-Case over here on YouTube, where he streams GT7 and has videos of other content. And you can also find Slumber here on YouTube as well, where he does GT7 content. But with all of that being said, to quote Brett Smith of Shinedown, it's never goodbye, it's just till next time. Good night.